Welcome to the beginning of the end here for North America League Stage 2. 8 teams have found themselves in this position. Only one can make it to the Montreal Major and have a chance at international glory. For some of those teams, this is a nightmare. For others, it is a dream they have fought hard to achieve. This is the last chance qualifiers, the knife's edge, the last ditch here in the NAL. This is a place where anything can happen, gentlemen, and the only thing that is certain is that every game matters. And to bring you every game, I am Corbeck, joined by Laxing and Foxe. Excited to be back on a broadcast with you guys. Even if we're not in the studio, we're still here, same energy. I think Fox is muted, so.
Sorry about that. Obviously, I'm excited to be here. LCQ is where every single team plays their whole stage for. And to me, as a player, I mean, it's the most entertaining time to watch because you can see people just lose. You know, everything meant up to this moment, only one team can make it to the major, so it's exciting.
Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to being here as well. And we've got, a little bit of review to do, though, gentlemen, before we can push forward too far here. Let's take a look at the playoffs week, because there was a lot of action, some upsets, some ups and downs, some things that I think we didn't necessarily expect when we sent our 3 teams to the major.
Yeah, I think obviously one of the games that stuck out to me the most, which it was just playing for the seeding, was the Dark Zero versus Sonics. I mean, that was the game that we wanted to see to kick off the stage. Well, thankfully we got to see it in the end, and that was an absolute barn burner of a game. That went all 45 rounds were needed for that game. It was quite the back and forth. But again, I am very glad to be sending the 3 teams that we are currently sending, and can't wait to see who that 4th is going to be.
Oh, yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, if you're a North American fan, I think everyone's happy with our representatives so far. But even the teams that are now playing in the LCQ put up a great fight. I think the teams that we didn't expect to have a good showing, like Wild Card and M80, actually overperformed and did really well. It was an exciting time to watch. C9B, on the other hand, not what we expected from the previous major champs. So obviously, hopefully they've fixed things going into the LCQ.
You know, definitely. I mean, I think when we look at the end of it, obviously Sonics, Dark Zero, Space Station Gaming, these are the teams that made it. They all deserved to be there. Of course, across the broader sort of world of Siege, we've been seeing teams qualify across, throughout the globe, right? And that's been really exciting. There's been a lot of playoff action, a lot of people kind of following who's going what and who's going where, really putting us sort of on note here. I mean, you can see the 3 teams from NAL, the 3 teams from Europe, and of course the 3 teams from Brazil, and a scattering from over in the Asia, Korea, and Japan regions.
Yeah, we're in a situation where there's no one deficit team that is smoking everybody amongst the rest. I feel like this is going to be probably the closest major that we've been able to see. Every single region is sending their best representatives. Every team is obviously doing great. And when you look at previous stages, previous years, there's always one team, a Furia, potentially a G2 before them that you're always stressed out to play against. But right now, I'd say every team is on a very level playing field. I'm excited to see the play styles of different regions match up.
Yeah, and what you're seeing here, I mean, I think is pretty standard across the board, who you'd expect to be seeing, obviously, with our NA being those 3. But Brazil, I mean, not seeing Furia there is kind of interesting. Obviously, they still have a chance. But then even for Europe, I mean, BDS, that's a team I'm super excited. We did see Secret in Manchester. Now we're seeing VP, so that should be very fun. What I'm very curious, especially with those 3 regions in specific, is the shield meta. Because what we've seen in Brazil, we haven't seen that shield meta too often. So I am very curious, once we actually do get to Montreal, what that shield meta is going to look like for Brazil, pairing up against NAL, Europe, and then across the Asian regions.
Oh, definitely. That's something I think I'm excited to see as well. Of course, there's some phase 1 teams that have not yet finished, sort of the qualifier teams still working out. Obviously, Latam, where I'm from, they've still got some work going down in there. Brazil, a lot of LCQs still here to go, but I'm happy to see some of these other phase 1 teams in. It's nice to see Team Falcons making as well. It's great to see them from the MENA region.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think they're a team that ever since the first tournament that they showed themselves, there was a lot. I mean, they represented the MENA region well, and there's a lot of talent coming out of there. Obviously, I think I'll go one step further to say that MENA has already found more success than all of APAC combined so far. So it's very exciting to see them at least come back on over GK. I mean, obviously, those 2 teams always go back and forth based on who gets that qualification spot. So I'm excited to see who they'll be going up against that makes it through the LCQ for the 3 major regions that we've yet to determine.
Now, for those 4 that we saw, I was looking at FearX. Obviously, their track record does not look good at the international performance, so I am hoping that we can see a little bit of success coming out of them, but nonetheless, they are making Montreal, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely a good smattering of teams. But of course, we'll be sending one more team here from the NAL. It'll be the team that wins out in this LCQ bracket. And well, M80 are kind of the favorite, I think, coming into this. But man, there are some tough matches here, guys.
Absolutely. I mean, I personally think M80, based off of their performance through playoffs, they are sitting in that position to be the favorite. But there was a lot of life that we saw. I mean, OXG got their big win back and to make it a 1-7, win-loss throughout the stage. So, I mean, there's teams that we're expecting to see bouncing back. Obviously, when pressure is on the line, that's where you see teams come alive. So LCQ, there's nothing more, there's nothing that weighs heavier than the pressure of an LCQ.
Well, you have M80 on that side of the bracket. I actually have Wildcard. Wildcard have truly impressed me in their most recent games. Obviously, they did fall short in those playoffs, but what we were seeing from them was what we wanted to see throughout stage, or the glimpses of. And just recently coming off of a hot 2-0 versus Cloud9 Beast Coast, and we already talked about them, the former major champions, they aren't looking too hot. And to lose to Wildcard, where they're ramping up towards the end of this and now going into the LCQ, I cannot wait to see how well Wildcard does and to see if they can get that rematch against Cloud9 Beast Coast that I'm sure that they want to have against.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. But of course, that's the action we'll be getting into tomorrow. Today, here are our first 2 matches. We've got M80 versus Space Station Gaming Academy. A tier 2 team fought their way to be here through the qualifiers. And of course, we have a rematch from Playday 9, Luminosity versus Oxygen. But that first match, I mean, I already said it. I think Fox has said it as well. M80 is a team that we're kind of paying to be favorites here. They probably overperformed expectations in the playoffs. They are going up against SSG Academy, which is a really solid tier 2 team, but alas, they are a tier 2 team. They don't have a lot of experience playing against tier 1 opponents.
I mean, I got to say this. I think you got to feel pretty comfortably in M80 coming into this situation, to especially start your LCQ run, that you are playing against a T2 team that maybe lacks a little bit of structure, maybe lacks a little bit of team identity, but still, you also got to give them the respect because of that. You don't know what they're capable of. You don't know what they can pull out. So it can be a very scary situation that you find yourself in starting an LCQ like this. But overall, you should feel comfortable that you are going against the lesser of strengths going into this.
I mean, you'd hope so. I mean, I don't know who's going to have a rougher road, SSG Academy today or CL4L that's playing against C9BC. I mean, obviously, those are the 2 powerhouse teams that we're expecting to make it towards that LCQ final. But when you're playing against an underdog, I feel like there's a lot of things that could catch you off guard if you're M80. So if you're not taking the other opponent as seriously as you should, they could run away from you.
Yeah, and of course, last week in the playoffs for M80, it was a bit of a tragedy, right? We know the roster well at this point in time. They've got talent, they've got gun skill. They just could not seal the deal when they needed to.
Not at all. I mean, the reason why M80 is, in my opinion, the favorites for this LCQ is just based off of their playoffs potential, because during the regular stage, they only got 5th, and it was a very lackluster performance. There was nothing too surprising. M80 is a team that's been good on all ends so far, very flexible, but they haven't been great in many specific situations. I mean, if you look here, they're beating up on the bad teams and they're losing to the good teams, and it's nothing too crazy. Little bit of back and forth during the regular stage, but obviously when you transition into playoffs, they kept it very close to the teams that we didn't expect them to do, beating 2-0 C9BC, keeping it close against Dark Zero, but then all of a sudden they fall off towards SSG, and you're asking yourself, why is the inconsistencies for M80 keep showing up even with a hot start into playoffs? Yes, they lost to Dark Zero, but then the fall off to get 0-2'd by SSG in a devastating fashion. You sit there and you try to wonder what's M80 doing wrong. And at the end of the day, they're really only following up with individual performance. And time again, that's all we have been seeing from them. And we need to see more, especially when the LCQ comes, because there's not only going to be individual performance that can carry you to a major spot.
Yeah, and individual performance is great. It helps that you can rely on every single player, but especially like you're saying, we're here in an LCQ. Everything is on the line. You need to be playing as a team here to secure your spot to Montreal. And even if you do secure your spot to Montreal, you can't, again, rely on solo plays, someone just making a big play. Everyone needs to be there, because that is what truly makes a championship winning roster, when you have that teamwork, when you have that coordination. And there are glimpses where we see M80 really have that teamwork and have that synergy, but then in other situations we see them fall flat and obviously fall short, where they did fall out of playoff contention. So hopefully here they can get a foothold of what they want to do, how they want to operate around the map and work with one another. But it needs to be a consistent process throughout this entire LCQ, and hopefully making that spot to Montreal and then thus going forward.
Right. I mean, consistency is what we want to see. And so far, the biggest issue with M80 is their maps. They're consistently going to maps that they should not be going to. Obviously, these are all play out through this stage, and you can clearly see the maps, Clubhouse and Border, the ones that they're winning, they have not lost on them this stage. Yes, teams are going to ban it, but we saw a drastic difference of the maps that M80 took Dark Zero to that almost got them that win. The maps that they took C9BC to, that got them that 2-0. And then against SSG, they just go to Bank and Labs. And those are maps that you would expect M80 to have changed from their stage losses to playoffs, but they didn't. It was the same sloppy, sporadic M80. And that just relies on big individual plays. And this is an issue that we can't see going into LCQ, is them continuously picking maps off of ego and believing that they can just outgun the opponent in front of them. Maybe they can outgun SSG Academy today, but to win the LCQ, the map picks need to be more strategical to give M80 the best position possible.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I talked about that teamwork and communication needing to carry them in throughout this LCQ and into Montreal. But yeah, I mean, their map split's very lackluster. I mean, you have a Clubhouse and a Border being your strongest, and Clubhouse being the strongest, but that's a very default map. At least you can kind of feel good possibly going into this game. Sure, we don't know the map bans yet, but majority of T2 teams do like these default maps. So it can be a little bit of a double-edged sword, but granted, they are 5-0 on it. You do got to feel good, but I do want to see a more diverse map pool. And like you said, more strategy, more strategic prowess going into these maps than what we've currently seen throughout the stage and into playoffs and now possibly into LCQ.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I think they're getting a little bit of a lucky draw here playing against obviously the tier 2 team. But hey, Space Station Gaming Academy, if you've been following tier 2, you know these names. They earned their place here. They're looking to follow up on what their big brother organization is. The big question is, can they actually do it, or are they just going to be a little outclassed here in terms of the competition?
You know, they're familiar faces here. As you saw in that slide that we saw in the beginning of this, they have been in the LCQs twice now. This will now be their third time, so hopefully this will be the one that they can get the job done. But it's still, they got a long road ahead of them. They have a lot of pro teams to possibly beat. This is their first run in how they even got here to begin with. Now, keep in mind, it does look great, but again, that's against a lot of T3, T2 teams. Then when you get into that qualifier playoffs, that's where it starts to get a little questionable. Sure, they did start out strong, but it's that last game that I'm looking at the most, the Los game, because something that you need to take in mind here is Dream was with this roster during that Los as a sub, and that game was relatively close, and Dream was at the top of the leaderboard of every single one of those games, having that pro player experience along with Rampy. Now you're losing that. Yes, you are bringing in Jabates because he had to get subbed in for Dream, but ultimately at least you still have Rampy, and that's something that needs to be highlighted here, because this is all of Rampy's accolades. He's a historical player. He's an OG.
Not sure if we just lost. There he is.
What am I? Hello?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
We can hear you now.
Perfect. I see my Discord jumping up and down. No, but I am looking for this team to be looking at Rampy to just help lead this team, lead this charge, learn from him teach them, even him learn from these guys in order to push them to their limits and possibly grab this Montreal spot. But it is a very big, tall ask. But I did actually talk to Focal before this game, and he said, yes, Dream was a very impactful player. It was great, but they did work with 3 support players to try to make it work, and they lacked their aggressive entry of Jabates. So I also am going to be watching heavily on Jabates here to see how well he can entry into this game against M80.
Yeah, and it kind of gives them a little bit of an edge, because if you don't have your main player going into the open qualifiers, you're relying on individual prowess. Now you have a whole new set of arsenals now that you have your full team, especially against a pro team. That's what you're going to need.
Well, I know you've heard a lot from us, so let's hear from the 2 teams. Here's Rampy and Kino talking about their LCQ matchup.
Hi, I'm Rampy, and I play for Space Station Gaming Academy.
My name is Kino, and I play for M80. Playoffs for M80 was interesting. I feel like we didn't play as well as it might seem. After the Cloud9 Beast Coast game, we realized that the hero play saved us. We can't rely on that, so we focused a lot more on, our fundamentals. Our best game in playoffs was against Dark Zero. It's the game that I feel like we had the best chance of winning. We showed a way better version of us against Dark Zero. Ended up forgetting some small details on Clubhouse. Ended up costing us the match. So we have to be way better for this LCQ.
Open quals went pretty well for the most part. I mean, MK's game, we lost to them. I would say we manhandled Fluffy. MK's is just a hard matchup for this team, and it's just something we just kind of have to figure out. It's a play style thing and understanding how they play. And I think if we play them again, I think it will be a much cleaner game. It's been a kind of like a refreshing start for me. It's fun playing with people that are like really hungry to grind and learn about the game, and it's nice helping these guys out. And I think in other ways they're helping me out, and they might not even realize it. This is just helping me develop more as a player, and I do understand that my last 2 stages weren't too good, not up to my par, so hopefully I can get back on the right track here. I'm happy to be matched up against M80. I think sometimes playing against other T2 teams, I think it's a little harder for this team. They actually like playing pro teams more. They've said it to me, and it makes sense because they scrim them all the time. They have like a pretty good idea of what's supposed to be happening.
Tier 2 teams tend to be more aggressive than usual. We gotta treat those guys with respect. During EWC quals, we played them. We almost lost the first map. We went to OT, so we know those guys are a very good team, and we can't play around. We have to take them serious.
I mean, they're a good team. They're kind of a different style than what most NA teams are normally, and I think it's going to be a very weird learning curve for us because this team we're brawlers, but I don't necessarily think being a brawler is a good thing against a team like M80 because they got shooters. We got to be playing our best and doing what we're supposed to be doing that day.
They have some experienced players on that team like Rampy. I feel like still they haven't been through enough games and enough experience to cover everything, all the gaps, all the playstyle gaps. Even we'll see, I guess.
Goals and expectations for this game. I mean, we're expecting to win. We never go into a game thinking we're going to lose. I'm very just excited to play with these guys in a big match like this. I think it's going to be refreshing and maybe a little Cinderella story here.
Expectations and goals, always to win. We're all dedicated. We're all putting in the work to win this thing. We know that we slacked during playoffs and during the NAL season. We all know that because it showed in game. And we know if we don't put in the effort, we're not going to win. We have to treat every team with respect, but always expecting to win.
Well, I'm excited to kind of see the sort of clear-eyed analysis from both those teams. No real overconfidence from SSGA. And of course, Kino giving that tier 2 team the respect they deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, respect needs to be brought here because there's really not much information on SSG Academy. And when you play against a T2 team that wasn't even playing with their full roster in the open quals, you have no idea what they're going to bring you to. You have no idea what maps you're going to go to. And if you're of M80, we just highlighted how maps have been the biggest thing for their success. If they let it go to a overexposed big map like Bank, that is not what we want to see from M80. Because
like that?
These are maps that, yeah, they'll just like that. I mean, if M80 just tries to bring them to these, oh my God, they try to bring them to these huge maps. I mean, you got to be stressed out if you're M80. Yes, you're playing against a T2 team that you're not going to be expecting to outgun you. But Rampy said it in the interview. When you have a team of brawlers against a team like M80, it's not going to work out in your favor. So I'm expecting Rampy to lead his team into playing a lot more strategically. And obviously M80 letting these maps up. Obviously we saw them 0-3 on Bank. These big maps don't usually play out in their favor. So I'm a little worried for M80.
Yeah, I think the first map definitely goes into Space Station Academy's favor here, just for the simple fact it's hard to clamp down a team that you don't have any VODs on that can bring something new to the table. And a lot of T2 teams are innovative in how they play Siege. It's just quicker on the T1 teams to truly identify what is going on and how they can counter it. But then you look at that lair pick. Thankfully, M80 actually looked extremely dominant on it throughout the stage. They only played it once. They beat low 7-1. So that's got to feel good, but that's still not a big sample size for them to, I think, to take a team like SSG Academy to. Granted, you feel good that you had that 7-1, but again, you're playing against an unknown entity. You don't know their idiosyncrasies of what each and every single player does that you do Los. So it is a little scary. I think both maps do favor both teams in some area that maybe we could see a third map, but overall, I mean, you are seeing the picks from both myself and Fox. I still do have to give it to M80 just for the simple fact that they are the T1 team. They have gone through their bumps and hurdles and understand what they need to do in order to find success. And that's just simply where T2 teams lack, is they can't get a foothold when they are met by a brick wall.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just think M80 obviously knows that they're the better team in this position. They're not trying to show too much. They want to bring it to maps that they don't have the intentions of playing later on throughout the LCQ stage. But, I mean, we just highlighted a whole lot about the maps. And if a team can run away with the round count, be able to bring something new that M80 is not expecting, I mean, we could see this first map go to SSG Academy. If that's not the case, then I believe, again, M80 should take this swiftly 2-0.
Well, it's definitely an exciting selection of maps. Promises to be an exciting game. So let me turn you over to a duo that I am excited to see. It's my LATAM comrade Jonah and the ever wonderful Jesse J. Chick.
Thank you, Corbeck. It is good to be here on the NAL again. It just might be the LCQ, Jesse, but we do have a tale as old as time in front of us. It is the T1 favorites of M80 against the Cinderella story T2 Gunners of SSG Academy.
Indeed, it is, Jonah, and I think we've got a really exciting game set up for us here. I think M80 undoubtedly going to be the favorites. The desk said that. I think most people would pick the Tier 1 team here, but SSG Academy, you know, I like these maps for them. I think that they're going to be feeling pretty comfortable. Bank, obviously, a very strong map for this team, and it's one that M80 have been weak on recently. Honestly, even if this is kind of a quick game, even if M80 do end up winning as the favorite teams, I'm just happy I get to watch Rampy playing in an SSG jersey again.
That is so right. I mean, you were looking at somebody who has been on this roster for so many years, or at least been under the SSG banner for so long, and now maybe getting a chance to compete at a T1 level just under the Academy organization for now. But as we said, and as they talked about on the desk, this is a team that, of course, has a decent amount of experience because you do have someone like Rampy in position, of course. But on the other side, this team has been in this situation before. Just a few months ago in Stage 1, they also found themselves here in this last chance qualifier position. Sure, it wasn't the entirety of the roster that we see today, Jesse, but you still see some familiar faces. You still see Vil and Focal, both of whom have been here before, losing to OXG in the opening round in Stage 1.
Yeah, hopefully they're able to take some of that and learn from it. Obviously, this is a team that's been in Tier 2 for a really long time. I expect most of our viewers have heard about M80. You might have heard of the Spoit guy. You probably don't need an introduction for him. But SSG Academy, if you haven't been following the Tier 2 scene inside North America, have been around forever. They've been competing in every single one of the Element off-season tournaments. They're actually the only team who have finished top 4 in Element 1, Element 2, and Element 3. So they've been a real staple of the Tier 2 scene forever. Obviously, they've changed players quite often, as an Academy team and a Tier 2 team tends to do. But certainly with these guys, you know, you expect to see a lot of familiarity. You want to be able to see the best that Tier 2 can offer in a team like SSG Academy. So hopefully we can see that here today.
Well, we obviously know how significant of a victory this could be for SSG Academy. It is the T2 team taking on the T1 team, Jesse. But I suppose this is rather significant for M80 because if you look, of course, we know how familiar everyone is with this team, but looking at, well, their success since M80 has been an organization in Siege, they have attended every official R6 event in the Blast R6 circuit. They've been to every invite, every major since joining in 2023. The first time they've been in a last chance qualifier position, sure, they might be the favorites, but potentially missing out on an international event would be a devastating blow to feel that for the first time.
Yeah, especially for an org like M80 who have invested so much into the scene to not see international results. You've got to imagine that will be a disappointment. But of course, the road is ahead of them. They have that opportunity. Now they will start their very first game in the LCQ here against SSG Academy. Again, single elimination, BO3s the whole way through. So it's a simple format. win the series, you move to the semis, you lose, and you are done. There are no redos, no lower bracket. There's no Twitch for this game, at least on Bank. M80 choosing to ban that out. That's going to mean that on defense, SSG have some really powerful defensive operators. Mira, obviously a huge operator that gets countered out by that Twitch, going to be brought in this very first round. I expect to see a lot of Goyo as well. You love seeing Goyo down on the basement of this Bank bomb site, and usually Twitch would be the primary counter. But with that not available, we'll see what M80 want to bring out instead. Maybe some Flores, maybe some Ash for the Mira. We'll see what their solutions tend to be. But bit of an interesting setup immediately from SSG Academy. They have brought a Tachanka, they brought a Maestro, they brought the Mira, the Warden. So much plant denial as you often tend to see, but also a little bit of a roam. You've got the Warden at the top of the main stairs right now. Jabate's on this Wamai starting to set up inside of open area. My expectation is they might last a little while on the roam here, Jonah, but they're not looking to take heavy gunfights, shoot a couple of drones, waste some time. Maybe Rampy will go for something crazy, but I expect this is not going to be a hyper-aggressive defense from SSG Academy.
Rampy, I don't know who you're talking about. You must be talking about Ramp Dog there on the Warden, as he is so aptly named. Listen, I mean, you're looking at a team, as you said, Jesse, who is going to go for a little bit of a roam here, not maybe fully committing to it, but certainly putting a little bit of pressure on this M80 team as they work their way in. You see Spoit, though, naturally, he hasn't been too worried about this, making a very quick push into the top floor and taking this space head on. Some good information, some good drone work, and of course, on the Deimos has the ability to pin down where those defenders might be located. He'll send out another one, this time identifying the position of the Wamai. That's Jabates, who he will pinpoint down below. So at least he knows that the Wamai, among others, is not up above contesting that third floor. In fact, no one is at all any longer. Every single SSG Academy defender has now rotated back, playing as safe as can be, but in doing so, giving up that map control to M80 here.
As expected with their operator lineup, right? No shock there. SSG Academy not trying to play very aggressive. Happy to see Spoit actually up here on the Deimos. As an operator, he brought a lot throughout stage 1. He didn't really play it much in stage 2, only 4 times and through the entirety of both playoffs and the group stage. He's really moved away from this operator, has allowed Citizen to play it a little bit more, but I think with Spoit's aggression as that primary entry, he is so fit for an operator like Deimos, and I'm excited to see what he can do throughout the rest of this game. There's a lot of util that M80 have to deal with at the moment. There are going to be C4s coming their way. There's going to be Tachanka fire. They need to find a plant in some way. But with Cameraman stuck inside of server, unless they try to rotate him to the hatch, this is not going to be an easy task. Yes, they've got Yings. Yes, they've got smokes. But keep in mind, they don't even have smokes, actually, as there are can openers brought on Kino. That Warden back deep inside a site is going to have a huge opportunity to see through those smokes and stop the Candelas.
Yeah, look how much protection Focal has with the Shumikas as well. It's not going to deter Cameraman, I guess. He's just going to work his way in, sticking the diffuser, and no denial from SSG Academy. A big heist there for M80 as they're able to get the diffuser down. They can sit back and wait now, as it is the SSG Academy defense who has to retake. Vil, as he works his way up, he gets bodied by Spoit, Citizen, Kino. They each get one, and it is up to Focal. Instead, it is a flawless round for the M80 attack. Despite the utility in their way, they just didn't seem to care. Got the diffuser down, and the first round on Bank is theirs.
Yikes, yeah, 2 C4s, obviously, the Tachanka fire as well. Evil Eyes, might have been EMP, didn't see what happened to those Evil Eyes if they cleared them out earlier. There were Thatchers that went out from Hyper, so they were able to deal with a lot of that utility. Credit to Cameraman, finding a plant spot that could avoid that Tachanka fire. You know, one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of teams bringing Tachanka is because the fire, A, it doesn't do that much damage, but B, it also just doesn't spread out very far. It can be difficult to bank it into all the nooks and crevices. You can see the diffuse kit just went down right inside of the wall. A bit of an unorthodox spot, nothing crazy, but certainly not the traditional default spot just inside that one wall behind the desk. That might have caught the Tachanka off a little bit, didn't quite land that fire, and they thought they were safe with it, but they were not able to deny the plant. So a classic blunder from SSG Academy. It's not the easiest thing in the world. M80 correctly gambling that they wouldn't be able to get that done. And of course, Spoit with a big 3K as well, going down the main stairs, having a huge impact, disrupting that back line. I said I love seeing him on the Deimos. I'm glad to see him bringing it back. He will toss it to Citizen for round number 2, but picking up the Ash, he's going to be more than comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, you got so much depth on this team. We talked about it, of course, all stage long with this M80 roster. Not necessarily having the success they wanted to have to get them straight to the major, but still very much an opportunity here in the LCQ. Whether you give it to Citizen, whether you give it to Spoit, somebody is going to make an impact to start off this round. You better believe it. Bank as well. Good to see M80 starting things off strong in that first round of the desk. I think rightly so, Jesse expressed some concerns about this map, considering that M80 are 0-3 on Bank this stage. You go to Lair next, a more maybe possibly unpredictable map. Yes, they won it 7-1 against Los, but it is still a map that maybe you just never know what to expect. As long as M80 can take control of Bank here, though, they are going to be just fine. Some early fights up top here as the roam clear gets underway. But Exer and Vil, they will deny the swing from Cameraman and Citizen. 60 seconds in, and already SSG Academy have such an advantage, a 3v1.
Yeah, okay, the entry play, I mean, it did start off strong. Spoit got that opening pick, but then Kino dies. Citizen Cameraman can't accomplish much either. Cameraman just securing one for himself. Kino on Blitz has been a long story. Kino is a shield player, has often been talked about to death. This stage in particular, he's really struggled on that Blitz. Only a 26% win rate for his second most played attacker throughout the stage, leaving the newest member of M80 in the 1v3. Now, the bomb site is Archives Tellers, probably the least expected bomb site to come through on this map. Might offer some kind of an advantage for Hyper, but you're never going to be favored in a 1v3. He's got the fuse kit now, and he's got plenty of time to work with, plus intel on these cameras. He can set these up so that his teammates can view these cams and give him callouts, but obviously you can't drive those around, and they are ready and waiting on the side of SSG Academy. Hyper now makes his way to the main floor.
It's funny, we didn't even mention the objective we were playing here until about 60 seconds to go, because all of the action happening topside. So much pressure put by the SSG Academy defense onto that extension, and giving M80 maybe a little more trouble than this attack expected. Hyper, he'll swing as he works his way into Tellers, trying to make something work. But yeah, there's bullets coming from everywhere, and he just does not know where to look. SSG Academy, they bounce back, tying us up at 1.
It's interesting. I think when people saw Hyper come on to M80, there was a lot of talk about, oh, Hyper, he's used to be one of the best entries in the world. He used to be such an aggressive player, and he certainly was back in his day. He's come onto this M80 team as more of a flex player. He's not really taking those entry engagements. He's leaving them more to Spoit and Citizen, fulfilling this role where he does take more of a backline approach sometimes. Not his fault that this round goes away, obviously. He's out on the rappel. He's doing his best. His whole team falls apart. You're never going to favor him in a 1v3 like that, but it's just interesting looking at the change in Hyper's career. He used to be the guy first in, first out, always getting into those opening engagements. Nowadays, he's got the highest survival rating in the entire team, one of the highest in the entire league, too, at 35%. So that kind of speaks to how much he is consistently playing more for the late round, valuing his life, trying to stick around so that he can go for those late round clutches. Unfortunately, not able to pull that one off, but a valiant attempt nonetheless. And I think good showing as well from SSG Academy, showcasing that, what, they are here to play. Yeah, maybe round 1 didn't go how they wanted, but they're not backing down yet.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
It's funny you mentioned the Hyper situation as well, because, you look at this roster, and, who is going to take the fragging role, the supportive role? You've got 5 people capable of going absolutely ham. Citizen, Spoit, on any given day, these guys can be top frag in the lobby. Of course, typically we see Spoit taking up that mantle, but Kino, Hyper, on their respective rosters back in the day, they have all taken up a role like this from time to time. You just never know what you're going to get with these guys, and that's why, well, no team, when playing against them, can rest easy. If one of them is left up in a clutch situation, you still have to lock things down and watch out, because they can absolutely win those rounds here. But as you said, M80 unable to take 2 in a row. A nice bounce back there from SSG Academy. A successful and unexpected bomb site selection there now gives them a little bit more flexibility with where they want to go next. Given the top floor success and how successful that extension, that roam was up above, very reasonable that they're going to go now again to that first floor site, forcing M80 into a very similar and potentially uncomfortable situation. You've got to clear this top floor first. Will speak of the devil and he shall appear. Hyper will open things up with a kill. Playing the ace, but still some entry engagements for him. Citizen, Spoit, look at this. Once again in the building quickly. This time, Jesse, it paid off.
It certainly did. You know, you can take the man off entry, but you can't take the entry out of the man. Hyper gets one. Now these last two players need to salvage a couple of kills or else this is going to be a done deal. 1v5 for Rampy as all of his teammates have fallen on the top floor and he will follow Spoit 3K again for the second time. It feels like M80 have only won rounds off of 3Ks of Spoit, but you know what? That's what happens when your star player is so damn good. Love that clear. You know, I really appreciate that M80, they saw that the fast clear didn't work once, and they said, you know what? If we change things a little bit, if we switch the operators around, we can still make this happen. Cameraman ended up jumping on the blitz. Not sure it had the biggest of impact, but being able to just make that space, be aware of what was free to take. I mean, M80 clearly walked in and they took that. I liked the castle barricade clear as well coming out from Kino. We were focused on that for a lot of the rounds, using those Habana pellets to deal with a lot of the utility, open up Kanto wall, so we had that cut off if those roamers tried to make it back to the site. There was once a time where you would see Kino trying to clear those castle barricades on the Kali. I don't know if that will come out later this game, but historically a favorite operator of Kino's on bank. For now, though, getting the job done with more traditional means. And M80 for 2 round wins in the first quarter, that doesn't feel too bad at all. I think they're feeling very, very comfortable for a map that, as the desk have pointed out, has been very weak for them so far this stage.
Well, 2 round wins, but 2 flawless round wins. They lost 1 round, but the 2 rounds that they've won, they have not lost a single body. Great adjustment in the last one to make it happen, and now we go back and hit the reset button. To the basement we go, where we got to look to see what adjustments SSG Academy can make, and they don't seem to be too substantial. You see almost an identical lineup here coming out from this defense, with emphasis once again on the Tachanka, on Rampy, on the Warden. You've got the Mira in play, looking to do the exact same thing, it appears like, in terms of defensive setup. Still no smoke, still 2-3 C4s, so a lot of utility, as we said before, Jesse, but when it comes down to it, that split-second decision or an inch to the left or the right when it comes to the Shumika fire going out towards the attack can make the difference of that diffuser going down or not. M80, they were able to sneak that down last time and get away with one there. SSG Academy maybe hoping to deny that kind of thievery this time. Same kind of approach to the roam, though. No over-aggression. Rampy slowly backing off and retreating to that bottom floor already.
I'll tell you what, this Mira Tachanka strat, if nothing else, is extremely creative. I love this from SSG Academy. Clearly, they have been cooking in the back lines. It's not really something that you'd see from many other teams. This Mira Tachanka strategy from all the way back inside of the other site. Try to deny a server's plant. Pretty cool stuff coming out. You mentioned it's a very similar lineup. The key word there is very similar, not exactly the same. Jabate's on the Capcan. I believe he was on Wamai last time, so trying to maybe catch some players off guard. M80, they've made it through the majority of the map without hitting any of those traps. I imagine they've been shooting them as they go, because you'd expect those Capcan traps to be primarily placed up on the top couple of floors. So, you know what, doesn't get anything done, but still has a strong C4. And with 3 of those combined with some good mirror windows, they still have a really good opportunity to deny the plant. You know, even if sometimes those Tachanka flyers might miss. So the key at this point, clear out those evil eyes. You don't have any EMPs this time around, so you've got to find some other means, and then try to get a plant down from server. Same old story as what we saw in round number 1.
It's a game of inches, as we've said. Does the fire hit? Does the C4 land? That can make the difference between a successful defense and another, well, potentially flawless M80 round. Spoit being at 50 HP is going to make that a little more difficult. Doesn't have the ability to frag out as comfortably as before. But with 30 seconds to go, this is where things are going to start to pop off. The Candela's in, Spoit goes in, and he's the first body to fall. Good heads-up play from Vil. Jabates will join with a Nitro Cell. Rampy will do the same. Cameraman, he's creeping through the back, now rotating around to the Red Hall, but this one, well, you got to think that SSG Academy have a read on this. There's Focal sneaking around and dealing with Hyper. Cameraman, 8 seconds. Flash goes out, but he is simply out of options. 15 HP, 2 full HP defenders to find. Focal's the one to clean it up, and SSG Academy find the answer they were looking for on lockers and CCTV.
Yeah, much better anchor play. I think the big difference is that they had no answers to the Evil Eyes. They didn't have a Thatcher that time on the side of M80, so the Evil Eyes were constant information. They, of course, won the early game gunfights too, shutting down Spoit on those main stairs. And I really got to credit that Tachanka play from Focal. A lot of good play, of course, with that SMG. You know, back when Focal started playing, Tachanka didn't have all these fancy tools, okay? Focal's been playing in Tier 2 since Year 2, Season 1 on a team called Mix Up when he was in North American Challenger League Season 4, which is before I even knew Rainbow Six was a game. So incredible length that we've seen from Focal. Obviously, a very experienced team captain for SSG Academy, holding things down. You got to imagine that Mira Tachanka strat is something that he helped come up with on this team. So nice to see those strats now working out. I would have liked to see M80 maybe go for more of a back push there, have some kind of adaptation to the setup they were looking at. Felt like they couldn't answer those Evil Eyes, and then they never really had any other sort of a response. Maybe if Cameraman was in a bit quicker, maybe if Spoit won his entries, but all ifs and buts. Doesn't matter now, Jonah. We have a 2-2 ball game on our hands.
Yeah, this is anyone's game, right? We look at Bank and we said it would be a good territory for SSG Academy to play on, not necessarily because of their proven record on this map. It's a T2 team. There's only so much you can look at in terms of map bans and wins. But in terms of M80's problems on this map, I think that's reason enough for SSG Academy to go to a map like this and pick it. And I think you're seeing some of those reasons emerge now. And, well, some of the evidence for that. SSG Academy, they've been successful on holding off M80 using that top floor defense, using that extension, and they're going to go for that again here. We've got Tellers and Archives reappearing in round 5 as the rotation for SSG Academy continues. The question is now, can M80 change things up and fix it? They were able to do it last time. They had to clear the top floor. They were still quick and aggressive, but they were a little cleaner, a little more methodical, and they didn't run into those same problems. This time, though, less top floor oriented. Instead, it is straight into the site with Kino at the helm. No one to find in the site, though. That's going to catch him off guard. He's got Spoit right behind, though, and that's perfect. He'll clean up Focal. Kino now turning his attention to the diffuser as he gets that down. SSG Academy looks like a retake, the choice for them. Risky, but it could pay off. It's a 3v3 now. The swing from Xer will work. Can he get 2? Yes, he can. Kino cannot stop this, and Cameraman, where is he? Nowhere near where he needs to be to deny this counter defuse. Vil sticking it, getting off, relocating as the spray comes in from the rest of this team. But Cameraman, he's got to pull off a miracle here, and he is out of time. On the rappel, too far away to make his impact. And SSG Academy, they chain back-to-back rounds together.
You know, I really think this Archives Tellers bomb site is underrated. I love the way that SG Academy played it. You notice they had nobody in sight. That is not uncommon for pro teams when they run this bomb site. It's not common, but we do see it from time to time. Typically, the strength of this site is that it's really possible to hold it from outside, right? You can be over by the main stairs, you can be an elevator, you can be up above and deny so many plants. And while they weren't able to deny the plants, you saw how strong that post plant was, right? Being able to collapse back into the site. You kind of have M80 right where you want them, inside your bomb site. Now you can collapse from above, collapse from the main stairs. We saw, of course, Vil getting some great picks in there. Obviously, SSG Academy really knew what they were doing with that defense. I thought it was a smart move from M80 as well. You know, it's a plant with Kino that keeps you a little bit safer from any coverage up above. It can be hard to deny a blitz plant because he's got that shield on his back, but ultimately the post plant just not strong enough at opening death from Citizen as well. Didn't make things any easier. And with that, SSG Academy have now secured their first lead of the game.
Yeah, this is a very good spot for them to be. We know how 50-50 this map can be, right? You're not necessarily expected to get 4 rounds on the defense or 4 rounds on the attack, but they are in a position to potentially do that and put M80 rather substantially onto the back foot after this attacking half. Of course, M80 is going to feel comfortable going to the defense. You know how capable this team can be, but we also know how strong they are as an attacking team. We know how strong this team has been over the course of the stage, just barely missing out on the major opportunity in the closed league. The only team in the LCQ with not just one chance in a major qualification match, but 2, losing in the semifinal, losing in the 3rd place game. You know this is a team with a chip on their shoulder. They obviously have something to prove, But here against SSG Academy, maybe a little trouble early on and some things to work through to prevent this series from giving them, well, maybe too much trouble. Again, 3 maps is a long way to go. This is SSG Academy's map pick, but as the desk said, you expect this one to be fairly swift. On paper, a 2-0 for M80 is probably what you'd predict, given the prowess of this team and the success they've had in the past.
And Cancel wall getting open, applying some pressure to Xer, but he's holding a very cheeky angle just over towards Banana. Here comes the blitz though. Vil gonna open things up with a pick onto Spoit. And uh-oh, you can't deal with that blitz. Now you've got to fall off, and they will eventually get the down and the finish off as Cameraman dies trying to clear up above. That puts M80 into a man disadvantage. Spoit ended up falling as well. So it was a 3v4. Citizen just micromillimeters away from the site. He's trying to get into this doorway, but the bait works. He finds Jabates to equalize. Now this is a 3-on-3. These last couple of players retreating all back to site. Vil's going to be on the main stairs. The other two are deep inside the site itself. Top floor being controlled by Hyper, while both Kino and Citizen are more horizontal. Up the stairs. This is going to be a stock drop, most likely, as they have a lot of utility to clear out. Still some flashbangs to use on their half. They've got the hard breach and soft breach to boot. It's going to be a bit of a low time execute, Jonah, but I think they've got what it takes. The question is, can the kills come out for SSG Academy?
Right, they have to just take these gunfights and win them. That goes for both teams. A lot of utility, as you pointed out, on the side of SSG Academy, the smokes from Rampy included. That'll be a major hindrance for M80 as they try to work their way in. But the site now opened up from above. The double door, the approach for Kino, the window where Hyper is going to make his entry. They have the angles they need. They just need to find the kills. It'll be Citizen dropping down from up top. The diffuser is in Kino's pocket, though. So in theory, you could see Citizen play the late game drop here, but he needs to go in now. The time is so low, and SSG Academy, they clean house. 4-2 at the half as the T2 team holds the lead at the swap.
Yeah, more great anchor player from Focal once again, by the way. Having a really good time down there in the late round on defense. Secures this team a 4-2 half now with back-to-back really good rounds there on the defense. Loved that. Back 3 rounds in a row through that final quarter too. So feeling really good about that if you're SSG Academy. I do think for M80, you know, they had a bit of time to play with after this kill right here. Once Citizen got that kill, there was 70 seconds on the clock. They didn't actually execute until there was 10 seconds remaining. They spent 60 seconds trying to set up that push, and you know what? They were using that time. They went above, they opened the hatch, they started opening floorboards, they rotated over to Janitor, they rotated over to Square, but I think they just had so many movements. They couldn't decide on where they wanted to push from. I thought it was going to be a stock drop, then it was not. Actually, we're going to go in through Janitor, or we're going to go in through Supply Closet instead, and it's just, there's so many changes of opinions of where you want to go, where you don't want to go. It wasted a lot of time and just opened the door for Focal, who now top frags his team, tied with Vil as well. Both going to be feeling pretty good. Attack's a different story, though. I gotta say, this is one of those things with tier 2 teams. Sometimes when you get those less experienced rosters, defending can be the easy part, and sometimes those coordination issues step up on attack.
Well, not to immediately bring up the LATAM region when you say T2 teams, we're going to pretend that's unrelated, but I cast a lot of LATAM, and just last night, we saw a similar situation where we were looking at 2 teams, Revan and 6 Karma, who could not figure out how to attack. In fact, 23 defensive rounds were won in a row between, and get this, Jesse, Chalet was map 1.
Oh, okay.
Clubhouse was map 2. And other than the first round attack on Chalet, the defense won every single round on both maps from that point forward. Wild. Classic LATAM stuff, especially on those maps. But just to illustrate the point that attacking is hard. And it can be hard, especially for teams who may not know what they're walking into. Now, SSG Academy, they've got the experience. Not only as a T2 team have they played plenty of T1 teams before, but they've got players like Rampy with that T1 experience. Plenty of it. So they should know what they're doing here, but knowing what you're doing and actually executing that, Jesse, are 2 very different things.
Yeah, and they've gone for an interesting first strategy as well, SSG Academy. Here's a jump up from Spoit, by the way, immediately punished by Xer. Good plays coming out to take that kill. At the same time, cameraman dies to Vil, so an early advantage. I was gonna say, SSG Academy tried to work a little bit of a play going down those server stairs early. Didn't find anyone. They rotate back up top. They find the roamers instead. Punish some good aggressive moves. This will be the second of 2 logic bombs to come out from Xer, and they've got Citizen pinned into a bit of an awkward spot. Nobody's actually inside of lobby to get that punish, but he can't drop down unless he rotates to the other elevator, so watch out for him there. Most of these players, though, still inside of server. You've got a couple of players that are willing to go for a more default push now they've gotten those 2 picks on the roam. Tuberow will stall things for a moment, but don't get too excited because he does not have enough Zoto canisters to stall the entirety of the round. 50 seconds. These players on M80, they need some kind of an answer because right now with this man deficit, it looks tough.
That answer may just have to be some kills, and it's got to happen quickly. The Nitro Cell, that could come into play. Little too late, though, and Rampy will land the critical shot. Kino, 2 smokes left, but 5 attackers. It doesn't matter what he's got in pocket. He is as good as dead. 5-2, SSG Academy, keep up the momentum, and they just might be running away with this.
My fault, SSG Academy. Well, I don't know why I ever would have considered that you wouldn't be a strong attacking team. That was a brilliant attack that just came out for them. Obviously, their initial play, trying to go down server stairs quickly and find a pick, didn't quite work out. They didn't lose anybody for it either. So when they were able to recognize that fact, they found 2 big picks on the roam. They punish that aggression, and then it's just a clean push. They clear up Citizen up inside the elevators. They punish the C4 player who's tossing that out, taking down M80 on the basement bomb site, which admittedly is a bomb site that most teams tend to be able to shut down M80 on. M80 have played bank 3 times this stage, of course, all in Tier 1 against the North American teams. Through those 3 plays, they have attempted to defend the basement 9 separate times, and their record is 2-7. So that basement bomb site, for most teams, would be the strongest of all sites. For M80, it's actually one of the weakest. I can't say the weakest, because Archives Tellers actually has a worse win rate for M80 on the defense. They've only played it once, they were not successful, so they'll give it their second attempt here against SSG Academy. If they fail to defend it now, it will be match point for the Tier 2 team.
Yeah, scary spot for M80 to be. Of course, single elimination best of 3. Best of 3 being the operative word there. That is, of course, what M80 can at least rely on if they're unable to close out this first map. But no matter what you're looking at, no matter what you say about either roster, experience, pedigree, it's a T2 team with 4 players who have never played in T1 competition full time against the 4th best team in the NAL, who had some rocky moments, but still had a chance, 2 chances to make Montreal already at this point in the NAL playoffs. Still a long way to go. A 3-round deficit isn't impossible to work your way back, and especially if we can see the rest of M80 start to wake up a little bit. You see Kino stepping up, dealing with Jabates. Focal lit up as well here. A lot of difficulty for him as he is completely isolated in the top floor by himself. Rampy and Xer, though, a quick response. They answer from the windows and from the hall up top. And now we're back to a 3v3 just like that, Jesse. It's still anyone's game.
Creative trades, but trades nonetheless. The Spider-Man repel on the main stairs. Skylight will get the job done. They also take down Spoit. So now it's a 3-3. Both players that got kills in M80 did fall as well. Everybody's mostly fallen back with the exception of Cameraman, who is still inside of the Kanto elevator. He's got the hatch to fall off if he needs to. But I don't think SSG Academy are ready for this. This should be a free pick as Rampy just does not seem to know. And there it goes. Cameraman finds the frag. Now it's a man advantage. Now the pressure is really on for SSG Academy.
Well, perfectly timed from Cameraman, but he's got to make a decision now. How often, or how much does he want to take any remaining gunfights? A smart choice to drop away here. Doesn't have to contest that heavily, but he is still slightly extended from the site. Let's not forget that. He's got some support from Hyper nearly around the corner. And Cameraman, I think, eventually will make that decision that he belongs a little bit closer to the objective with his team, using the hatches to reposition from the elevator back into the site itself. Now, putting the responsibility here, the shoulders of SSG to make the move. In a man disadvantage, Vil's going to be the one to try to step up first, but a goo mine will delay that. Xer rotating around. He's got the diffuser in hand. They've got a chance here, an opening into Tellers, but as you pointed out earlier, Jesse, not an easy site to hold from within. Citizen, good shot onto Vil. Xer's gonna stick this, and that's simply the wrong call. In the smoke, he really didn't have many options, so M80 finds some life here again on Bank. It's 3-5.
I can't get over how good that one kill from Cameraman was, taking down Rampy, especially because Rampy was playing on Dokkaebi and he hadn't used his second phone call. He could have had that information, but they were so sure after trading out the 2 top floor roamers that, guys, what are the odds? There's a third roamer up here, up top. A slight misstep from SSG Academy does get punished hard by Cameraman. And then, of course, Citizen late in the round finds 2 players deep inside of the smoke. Well played by Citizen. You know, he was the only person in their most recent game against the main team of SSG who happened to go positive. That was a pretty disastrous game against M80. Their second of 2 attempts to qualify for the major, for the Montreal Major. Second of 3 attempts, I guess now. We'll count this LCQ run if they can get to the grand finals. So it's, you know, it's one of those players that you can often rely on for M80. Citizen, negative going into that round, will be even now with 5-5, but is so reliable even when the team is struggling. It's not a surprise to me that it's him to step up and start to mount this comeback for M80.
Well, one hiccup there for SSG Academy. Been a while since they'd lost a round, but they are still holding a nice 2-round lead. Last time they played this map, it was in the open qual playoffs against yet another NAL team. It was against Los, and they won that 7-3 here on Bank. Ended up losing the series overall. They lost Chalet, they lost Clubhouse, but it was close. They won Bank. Of course, Los being the last team, finishing in 9th place in the NAL, so it doesn't quite translate. But the point is the same. SSG Academy are proven against T1 talent on this map. They're showing that to us here, but can they close it out? Something that is so difficult to do in a situation like this when you know that winning here would be the underdog performance, that winning here would be a little bit unexpected, but it would go a long way to setting themselves up for a potentially surprising upset in this series. But as we said, only 5 rounds to their name, still need 2 more to close this one out.
60 seconds in, and we've got some hacking action going on from Vil, but not a ton of great utility to hack. The mute jammers for sure, and of course those dread mines, not nothing. The bulletproofs may be the most valuable prize that he could get. He can work his way into sight. Both Hyper and Cameraman brought those. Both of them are still up as well. But it'll be a clear of this top floor that is really the first kind of issue they got to deal with. Cameraman, Kino, and Spoy all holding up here. Very much the same as the defense that they ran in the last round. Obviously, the site is not the same, but the top floor hold is very similar from these 3 players. Hopefully this time they will remember to check for Cameraman in the elevator. I cannot imagine they make that mistake twice, especially after going through those drones. But they might actually be going against it. Despite the Ying throwing some Candelas in up above, a lot of these players are still working it horizontal, and Jonah, they might be headed straight to the site.
And a little bait here. Well done with the Candelas. Does M80 pick up on this? This first fight from Vil will give us that answer. If he's able to creep in and get more than 1 kill, well, things could very well fall apart for this M80 defense. First kill is found from Xer. Trade, though, from Citizen. Jabates, he steps up. Another big kill for Xer. There it is. He gets a double. The pressure up top, though, that's the most important to deal with. And Xer, he does it again. Vil will finish it off. A little surprise there for SSG Academy, and M80 caught sleeping.
Yeah, great play out of Xer. Wow. The newest member of SSG Academy joining the team just last month. You might know him from Wanted Goons, where they got top 8 in Element 2. Otherwise, hasn't really had a lot of top tier 2 tournament performances. So nice to see him stepping up and going for that execute. I've been really enjoying the strategies coming out of SSG Academy. On defense, you saw it with that really creative Tachanka mirror set up down inside of the basement. On attack, you're seeing a lot of these really good direct-to-sight hits. It's not something that M80 are unfamiliar with, right? A lot of these strats are similar to what M80 wanted to run. You had the Blitz Ying plays up on the top floor. You've got, of course, some more plays going direct to site now. These are all things that M80 should be very familiar with, but just getting caught off guard, maybe underestimating SSG Academy just a little bit, maybe not so sure about what strats are going to come out. It can be really difficult when you don't have that information, right? When there's not as many VODs on your opponents. Yes, SSG Academy have played this map a couple of times, in the LCQ and in other tier 2 tournaments, but the VODs of those games aren't always made available, and it's difficult to know how much footage there really is. Plus, I mean, with all the extra time, SSG Academy could have been working on things in the background. Regardless of the situation, regardless of how prepared M80 were for this bank from SSG Academy, they are now in a dire situation. They must win the next 3 rounds in a row. Otherwise, they will be going to their map pick with an 0-1 deficit. Not how you want to start your tournament if you are who I would consider to be the entire tournament favorites.
Yeah, it's no secret that M80 are the favorites here. On paper, they come in as the 1 seed, the 4th place team through the NA Close League, the only team in that top 4 who did not get a ticket straight to Phase 2 of the Major. LCQ, it gets you to the Major, gets you to Phase 1 if you can get that far, but we are a long way from having that conversation, especially given what we're seeing right now. The LCQ has never been a friendly place for top seeds. It's never been a friendly place for any team who comes in expecting to win, who's holding back at all. On the desk, they kind of propose that it's possible M80 picking Bank, picking Lair, hoping to play 2 maps that may not be the most tried and true M80 maps of all, because they're hoping to hide some things. They're hoping to, going into international competition potentially, going into the semis and potentially the finals of the Major, rather of the LCQ, that they don't need to give away anything they have in store. But clearly there's a more important task at hand, and that is getting through SSG Academy. Something that is simply not as easy as they may have thought.
Well, to get it done, of course, 3 defenses, a perfect site rotation is needed. They get to start on the easiest, at least for most teams, down in the basement. I mentioned their record, 2 wins and now 8 losses on this bomb site so far this stage. It's not been a very successful one for them. Going for a bit more of a passive strategy. I talked about the Goyo at the beginning of the game, how powerful he can be with that Twitch ban. It took until round 10 for Goyo to finally show up. Again, SSG Academy having some creative strats in the basement, and then M80 going for more of a roam setup in their first attempt on this site. We're going to see now the Goyo come into effect and see what it can do to try to stall things out. The Flores of Ville will be the primary counter to try to be used from SSG Academy. Interesting echo cam as well from cameraman. It's actually inside a printer, and it might be able to find some bodies. Citizen is upstairs on the main floor, so this could prompt a bit of a flank, but it all has to do with if Citizen is willing to risk it. Just playing the top of server stairs with a shotgun, it is probably unlikely.
Well, that's the question, right? They clearly have the information, but what are M80 going to do with it? If anything, it's risky to go for a flank like that. You can't nitro cell printer from downstairs. Something, of course, is gained there. They have some knowledge of where that attack is coming from, but that is knowledge they would have had eventually just by those hatches opening, by the pressure coming from above. Could help Citizen, though, knowing when this swing is coming. He's got the shotgun in hand. He's going to take this fight head on. He'll pop the Vulcan canister and slowly back down. A free kill for him onto Rampy, and guess what? He is still alive. Flash is not a problem for the Warden, and he'll throw a C4 out just to lay this clear a little bit longer, but he is doing his job to perfection. With 30 seconds left, SSG Academy still have so much work to do, and Citizen with a shotgun. Surprise, part 2. He steps up and takes care of Focal. He loses his life, but it was worth it. There's no question about that. His job done. There's only 10 seconds left now for SSG Academy, and they are all over the place. Xer will drop the hatch. A Yokai drone will hinder his progress. 2 big kills for M80, and Jabates, well, he's got nowhere to go. A clinical hold there from M80 with their backs against the wall.
A beautiful performance from Citizen on his favorite defensive operator. He's played more Warden than any other operator throughout the entirety of the stage. You can see how good he is with it, knows when to activate those cameras, plays so well with the shotgun. You know, there's something that people used to say about Kino in that shotgun, and how really, as long as you believe in that shotgun, it'll believe in you. It'll get you the kills that you need. And I think in that round, Citizen was absolutely a believer. Good use of the Goyo canisters as well. Talked about how important those were going to be. Not sure exactly with Rampy going for that first swing, what his goals were. I guess he was swinging. I wasn't even really swinging. He was sprinting through the doorway. Must not have thought the Citizen was that far up. With the Flores drone, oftentimes you see the Warden fall back and maybe try to play that more passive, but that's not the choice the Citizen made. Stepped up, got the opening kill on a Rampy. A second one took down the Capitao, and then it's just chaos. So all credit to Citizen. maybe it took him a little while to heat up in this game. It was negative through the majority of the first half, but now he sits 8-7, the second highest performer on his team. He's been massive through the second half. He got them their third round. He got them their fourth round. He'll likely be very important if they want to get number 5 and 6 and send us into overtime.
And there's never a single player responsible unless you get an ace.
Sure.
Never a single player responsible for the outcome of a round. But if you were to crown an MVP of that one, it would no doubt be Citizen. I mean, not only wasting time, which is what he's there to do, Jesse, but getting not just 1, 2 kills in that position as well, and making a very bold but calculated decision to reaggress, surprise SSG Academy, and get that extra kill, a completely bonus frag that you would have not expected him to get. He knew that he was going to die in that position, so he might as well go down in a hailstorm of bullets, and that's exactly what he did, giving M80 another round, but they are not out of the woods yet. Still 2 more to go if they just want to force overtime and have a chance at taking this first map. Heroics from Citizen or not, we're still going to need to see a little bit more.
Last time we were on this site, we saw a pretty fast top clear coming out from SSG Academy. It's a bit slower this time. They're still trying to work their way through. They got immediately traded the last time they were on this site, so maybe it makes sense that they want to slow things down. Positioning still very good from all players on M80 with Kino Spoit still up on the top floor, but cameraman goes down watching the wrong part of the skylight. Vil, whether he had a drone on that or not, he peeks the angle correctly and he gets a free pick onto the Fenrir. Bit of a misplay from cameraman. The IGL now goes down and lets it lead his team from the grave.
Boyd's got an eye on that, just missing his chance to potentially take care of Focal there. Jabates, he knows of this position. He'll step up and get the kill. SSG Academy, a 5v3, a chance to secure bank right here. The best chance they may just have if they let this one slip away. So only 3 kills left to find, but a minute to do it is plenty. But they still have to be careful. Citizen, still a relatively advanced position, far from the site, closer to things. Top square, that's where Kino finds his grave. Hyper and Citizen, the only 2 that could stop SSG Academy from stealing this first map from M80. 50 seconds. Debates will drop. SSG Academy will continue to circle around this site in M80. Well, this defense has fallen to pieces. You gotta have to see some sort of a miracle here, some sort of aggression from Citizen to bring it back. But what can he do? Pressure above him, pressure below. Vil will take the swing and get the kill. Hyper now, a 1v5, denies the Flawless with 2 kills, but SSG Academy, they start off the series with a win over M80.
SSG Academy, they won this map in Element 3 against Sonics. They won it against Los, of course, in the qualifiers to get here. They win bank against another Tier 1 team, taking out M80. An excellent performance, and maybe showing that this game wasn't as far gone as maybe people expected. M80, they face their first stumbling block in these LCQs. They will drop one of their weakest maps to a Tier 2 opponent as they look towards the rest of this series. They are not out of it yet. They still got their map pick coming up, and it'll be live right after this break.
Close, 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 close.
Back up, back up.
Double up, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Nice.
He's catching. Go for kill.
We lined up. Nice! Let's fucking go! Good shit!
That's what I'm talking about. That's fucking.
Oh my god.
Fucking oh my god. Oh,
Well, I will say every time M80 plays, I walk away surprised. I walked away surprised from that one. Space Station Gaming Academy really sticking it to them on bank. I mean, look, you two are the experts, so please explain to me what is going on here.
I mean, it's like Fox said, the big maps is what truly hinders this team, and this is a clear example of that. And I said in the beginning of this, it's hard to clamp down a team when you don't know what they do. Those idiosyncrasies play heavily into such a big map that you can't genuinely understand what you can do to thwart off an attack, thwart off a defense, whatever that looks like. And again, M80's true, outside of a map problem, is just their teamwork and coordination. We saw, once again, a lot of individual plays trying to be made, but immediately shut down by SSG Academy. So kudos to them.
Yeah, I mean, we just want to show that, you know, before going into this match, they were 0-3 on bank, and now they are now 0-4 on bank. And obviously losing it to a T2 team, losing any map on a T2 team is obviously not what you would like to be in the first place. Obviously, when it comes down to maps, M80 is playing for the best of 3, so just losing one is not the end of the day. But great gameplay from SSG Academy. I mean, they really read M80, and it wasn't just taking M80 to a map that M80's weak on. They took M80 to a map that they did their prep, they did their homework on what M80 was going to do. And again, we saw it. M80 did not change anything from this bank showing to what we saw in playoffs to what we saw in the stage. It was just M80 continuously relying on big individual plays to carry them through it, especially on their attacks. And there was a lot of situations where they would try to go for these plants, try to go for these executes, and SSG Academy was set up to shut it down. They played the bank utility game very well. They amassed that 4-2 split half, and then once they got away with it on their own attacks, I really think M80's spirits were crushed going forward.
Yeah, and I mean, Vil was a standout performer for this team, and same with Extra. I mean, these are two players you absolutely have to highlight. Even for myself watching the game, I was very impressed with both these two performances. But overall, the team dynamic of SSG Academy is truly what pushed them through this map. And I think, you know, we talked about this in the early desk that we didn't get to say here is, you know, having a coaching staff from the original SSG roster of Call Out kind of, you know, helping this roster, setting them up, and just having his hand in this team. I mean, I think it definitely speaks into how this team plays. And then obviously, like I said in the early bit of Rampy being on this roster, I think they're definitely leading. He's leading the way, also helping these players. But again, also learning from them. And yeah, but Exer right here, once again, I mean, some of the shots that he was hitting, you know, for that being your warm-up game, going into a second map, you're hitting some of those nasty shots on blue stairs. I mean, I think we're going to see, I mean, this kill right here was great. Unfortunate for Kino. But yeah, I mean, just a quick shot like that, then a quick heads up play, swings out and grabs the guy up top. I mean, Exer was having one hell of a performance so far.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, Exer, I think, was the standout player. I mean, I don't want to delve too deeply into specific players on M80, but I will say I was a little let down, I think, by Cameraman, Hyper. They both looked a little lost. I don't know if that's a matter of the map, or do you think that's something that's going to get a little bit better here when we get to Lair?
I mean, I think it just came down to the way that M80 was playing. I mean, obviously, if your attacks aren't really too coordinated on bank, on a big map, your support staff is going to struggle, because where are they supposed to follow up? Who are they supposed to trade if you're not even able to connect the players that are right next to each other in the server? And it was way too split out. Now, one of the favors that Lair does have, even though it is a very big map, it's a very untested map, the hallways, the rooms kind of force you to play off of your teammates. And that's what we want to see from M80. Obviously, it's a map that they're comfortable on, but it still has the same issues for them. It is big. It is spread out. SSG Academy, there's no information on them. And SSG Academy really has the confidence. So M80's only real chance is obviously not just relying on the gun skill. They have to make sure that they have the trades in primary view of how they want to win this map. If they can't even start there by making sure that they're getting those trades, then it'll be, you know, a very grim showing, to say the least.
Now, I do want to say they did win this game 7-1 against Low, so that was a good performance from this team. But like you said, this map is very, like, granted, it is one of the bigger maps. It is very condensed, though. It does force you to play with your teammates. So thankfully for M80, that does favor them, because Bank is a big map. It allows a lot of people to move around the map at any given time, where, again, this map, it's going to be down to corridors. It's going to be going through a doorway, through a hallway. So thankfully, we will see more forced team play, but it does really come down to that coordination of that team play being implemented here. If M80 can stop the solo plays, stop relying on those or trying to make them happen. Sure, sometimes they do have to happen, but I do want to see better teamwork than what we just recently saw on this bank map, especially going against a T2 roster where naturally you should be better in that department in every single aspect.
Yeah, and I mean, it was the explosive solo plays that were getting them progress in the playoffs. So for them kind of switching to a new sort of mentality, obviously going to be a little bit hard, which I think we saw illustrated on Bank. I mean, the bigger question I have, I think, is just more of a psychological one. I don't think either of you were ever in a position quite like this when you were pro players, but where are you at as an M80 player looking at this map? You kind of just got shellacked by an Academy Tier 2 team. Now you are truly fighting for your life, your chance to go to Manchester. That's got to be rough.
Oh yeah, I mean, of course, it's very stressful. You never want to go map down one. Obviously, it's a best of 3. So if they knew going into this that Bank is going to be the hardest map for them to play, if they can just let go of that, go forward, and not worry too much about it, then obviously, you know, M80 should be the better team in this situation. I mean, SSG has the confidence, but if M80 can really rely on these big individual plays, because we haven't seen them rely on anything else, if they can just succeed in those big individual plays by being able to back up each other. If someone gets a, you know, an opening kill or 2 kills and he gets taken down, let's see that trade immediately. If M80 is able to succeed early on, they could bring SSG Academy to that level playing ground. But obviously, it all comes down to the teamwork and the communication. They don't have anything to counter against SSG Academy. It's all in M80's hands right here.
Right.
And again, I want to be able to say, you know, M80 should be the team because they have the experience, because they have the resilience. And yes, it is the best. You can wipe the first map away and now focus on your map, which that should always be the mentality. But from what we just even saw on the first map, it is a very scary situation because, again, the teamwork and coordination just simply is not there. And yes, I am regurgitating. Yes, this does need to be talked about because this has been a problem for M80 through and through. And now you're doing it against a T2 team that is punishing you for it once again. So again, I do hope that we can see a little more team play here because the map does kind of force that. But overall, if SSG Academy can just keep up with the pressure that they're applying and the confidence that they have, I can possibly see SSG Academy walking away with the Swift 2-0.
Well, from beating down C9BC to backs against the wall against SSG Academy, it's been quite a ride here for M80. So we'll turn you over to 2 casters for what might be the final stage in this M80 story. It is, of course, 2 casters whose names start with J, Jesse and Jonah.
Well, thank you, Corbeck. The final chapter in the M80 story, that might be strong, that might be a lot, but there is some truth to what you're saying there. That M80 have clearly not shown up in the capacity that we expected them to, Jesse. That much is very clear. And SSG Academy, the T2 team, the team that needed the Cinderella story, made it happen in map 1.
I agree, but I also think this is going to be probably the hardest map for SSG Academy. It's not a map that they have ever won in their history. They played it once. That ended up being a 7-4 loss to CL4L 2 weeks ago. That's the former team of Makers, if you're not familiar. We've got operator bans right off the rip. SSG Academy banned the Monty. Twitch is next. There's the Azami from M80. I would expect a Valkyrie from SSG Academy. That's the map. That's the operator that they banned 2 weeks ago against the former Makers core. So Valk would make the most sense to me. Will be the Valkyrie here coming through. Surprised a little bit that Dokkaebi made it through this operator ban phase. Both M80 and SSG choosing to ban the same operators that were banned in map 1. So you will once again not have access to the Monty or the Twitch. Dokkaebi is an operator that both these teams previously banned on layers, so this will be the first time that both these teams have played the map with Dokkaebi available. M80 have played this map once. They beat Los 7-1. SSG Academy again 0-1 so far here on layers. So still, Siege is new as map. Tends to surprise, tends to have a lot of unexpected outcomes. Maybe that could work in SSG Academy's favor, but they're going to need a better performance than what they showed the last time they were here.
Well, Jesse, I'm going to definitely rely on you to be the layer expert here. Let me just say that we don't see this one a lot in Latin America. We saw this one maybe twice total in LATAM North. Haven't seen it yet much else. But I know this is a map that we've seen a little bit more here in NA, as you mentioned, from M80 themselves. We know this map is big. They obviously talked about that on the desk. But my question for you is, does it really play like a big map? Does it play like Bank does in that way? Because when I look at it, I see all these soft walls. I see all of this clutter, kind of like Consulate. And I wonder if it plays a little bit closer to Consulate than it does Bank. What's your take on that?
No, you're right. I think once we see teams like getting comfortable with if you take out the teams that maybe didn't know how to play this map or don't have great ideas of how to play the map, I do think it leans more attacker-sided than most of the other big maps that we see in the pool. It is big, square footage is huge, but there's so many outer walls into bomb sites. Sometimes the largest of the map can work against the defenders, make it sort of easier for the attackers to isolate fights. Not so much here on the top floor, which is where you'll see a lot of teams starting out. This top floor can be really, really effective. It does have an outer wall, and if you can get the mask wall open, planting inside a mask can be really powerful. But that's a lot easier said than done. But easier when you can get the opening pick. Spoit here, the entry on the Finca this time around will find Focal, who is a little bit lost, roaming around here up the reception stairs, getting taken down. And this is actually going to be an interesting push from M80. They're going to run the blitz right up these main stairs.
Yeah, once they got that opening kill in that position, they just decide to send it. And Citizen, he's going to make his first push in, tempted to go for the swing, instead letting Spoit do the dirty work. Flash shield in front of him, Spoit continues to do the damage. Kino will tack on for one more, and Vil, oh my goodness, pushed into a corner, and M80, what an attack to start things off on Lair.
Spoit was the best player in the North American League Stage 1. In Stage 2, he placed just 3rd behind both Pamba and Ambi in terms of kill-death ratios, but he is the best player not already qualified to the Montreal Major, so we'll give him that, and he's certainly putting on a great show here today. Played quite well, I would say, probably their best player back on bank, now making a statement on Lair with a 3K entry. Actually, the exact same thing he started bank with, another 3K. So going back to back, it's what M80 know, it's what they like, and I like that strategy too. Going in with the blitz, making that space. You punish one little mistake, right? You catch that first player, Focal goes down, it's a brand new map, they shut that down, and immediately they turn that into more and more success. Really beautiful stuff from M80. One of those rushes that you just don't see very often. Not sure if I've seen ever a blitz play up those stairs. Obviously brand new map, so still learning a lot about this, but really cool stuff coming up from M80. They will bring much the same operator lineup. Never mind. Citizen to the Demos, Spoit to the Ace. So it's going to be a more traditional push here on the top floor, I expect, this time around.
Yeah, no blitz at the helm. Not seeing that same aggressiveness. Love the way that they made that happen, though, Jesse. I mean, it is kind of like Consulate in that way. I mean, we drew the comparison earlier. A very similar approach with the blitz at the helm, with that kind of explosive energy. Not necessarily committing to the rush right away, as you might see on a map like Border, but recognizing that once they got the opening kill, once the main stairs were freed up, they had an avenue to push for that execute. So great way to make use of the map and those close corners, the blitz in that first round. As you said, second round is going to look a little different, a bit more methodical here from M80 as they drop the diffuser, take their time here, get a little bit of information before working their way in.
Kino staring at the ops window. I think he's going in here. Jonah's got the, he had the Gar hook in his hands. He's got it back. The flash has come out. And here it comes, jumping into the ops window. We'll have a player right behind this wall he can find with the shotgun, but the deployable shield providing some cover. He's trying to find a frag, but Jabates gets it instead. Kino not trusting in the shotgun, and he'll be the opening death here in round number 2. They did get that space still. M80 are in control of operations, and they dealt with the shield. But cameraman falls now as well. I believe that was outside of the site single panel. Gonna make things very difficult now from M80 in a 2-man disadvantage. They've got the space and they've got the mask wall open. This is where a lot of teams will want to plant, but there's still toxic babes in sight. There's still nitro cells in sight. This is by no means easy, even looking at their positioning. And then the man disadvantage gonna make it even tougher now for M80.
We got the space. But at what cost? You've lost 2 bodies. You're now in a very uncomfortable position. Diffuser still outside the map, waiting for the moment to get that into play, I'm guessing. I mean, a minute to work with here. That's about the time you might want to recover it, and I think Hyper has recognized that. Diffuser in his hands as they wade through, well, the smoke. This one is going to be no easy task. So much utility still in their way. 2 smokes in Xer's pocket. A C4 to worry about that Jabates has prepped and ready. He'll send that over, won't come up with anything, but it will continue to delay the clock. The Grimbees identifying the position of Jabates. Some information here for M80 to work off of, but they need to start finding some kills. Information here is not going to be enough. They only have 30 seconds, still wading through the smoke. Citizen, he'll get something done, taking the time on the rotation, but still so much work to cover. Hyper, he'll step in, try to get this diffuser down. The coverage here from Spoit, critical. And guess what? It's not enough. Xer steps up and deals with Hyper. 10 seconds, diffuser now in Spoit's hands, but what is he gonna do? He'll hunt for the kills, taking the head of Vil, but Xer, he's looking for his triple, and he won't find it because Focal will steal it away, but it doesn't matter. SSG Academy, they win the round anyway. All tied up here on Lair.
I actually really liked the attempt from M80. Obviously not successful, but in the 3v5, they rotated their Deimos down below. Citizen got a pick, not from his own pings, but instead from the Grim, which I suppose is just as good. Then they perfectly bait out the Toxic Babes, the Nitro Cells. In the end, the man disadvantage was just too great. They couldn't win their fights on top of it, but I thought everything they did position-wise, decision-making-wise was the right call there. Unfortunate, though, with that man disadvantage. Sometimes that's the way it goes. You also got to credit SG Academy. Xer hit some ridiculous shots from behind that mirror window. Xer, we saw him hit some highlight reel shots in the first map, and in the second map, he is looking like he's going to keep that up. He's been excellent so far for SSG Academy. It's big plays like those that are going to keep this team in a game that they maybe aren't so favored to win.
It's that energy as well, right? I mean, it's those moments where you have a team that they know they're fighting from behind, Jesse. They know it's a Cinderella story, but you've got so much of that energy, so much of that hype that M80, I mean, they're the ones who are expected to win this. It's their game to lose. They're not feeling that same loosey-goosey, happy to play some Siege kind of mood right now. They are like, all right, we need to make the major, guys. We need to win this game. SSG Academy, I mean, they're playing loose. They're playing confident, but it looks good on them.
So we go to the basement for round 3. This is a bomb site that's tricky for defenders because if you try to go full anchor, you give so much vertical positioning to the attackers. They can do so much from up above. But if you try to roam, it can often be very difficult to work as a unit. Your roamers can often get picked off by playing so solo. It also opens you up to a bit of a rush in through garage. So there's often no perfect way to play this as a defense. It looks like SSG Academy have opted for a 3-man roam. Jabates, Rampy, Vil all roaming, and Xer as well, just playing around the stairs, willing to support and help his teammates fall off should they need to. The Dokkaebi, the Deimos, and here's the first call as well. Signals to me that M80 are looking to get some kills on this clear. They seem to know what's going on for SSG Academy. They've got Citizen already trying to look in, but it'll actually be a Claymore kill. To start us off, Cameraman takes down Vil as he jumps out into his doom, eating a Claymore now, and everybody on SSG Academy post that will fall back towards the bomb site. So, bit of a unsuccessful roam. They didn't lose too much. They lost Vil, but they can still play inside of the basement. They're going to have 1 C4 on Jabates. They're going to have 3 Toxic Babes. Man disadvantage, it's still going to be a tough hold, Jonah.
Well, you get the Claymore kill, and that's not necessarily how you expect to get the first kill of the round, but you take that every time if you're M80. Now, they're not going to jump and go explode on the site like they did in round 1 after they got the opening kill, but they are in a position where they could do that. I mean, they've got Kino on the blitz just lurking right by the site door. He's got that diffuser in pocket, which he will now pass to Spoit as they try to gear up and potentially make a push. They've got some pressure from up above. They've got the Selmas now going off. I mean, this is the makings of a successful push.
Certainly it is, and with still a minute to go, the flashbangs come out. It looks like they want to take this right now. Rampy, 2 kills, but one's his teammate. Shoots Focal in the back of the head, making it still a man advantage for SSG, for M80, I should say. These Toxic Babes stall the push for a moment. Spoit holding the fuse kit now. 4-1 on his KD, looking to make it 5. Hunting for these last 3 players in the site. Still 2 more Toxic Babes. There's one, there's the second. Xer's now completely out of utility. Trying to hunt for these last couple of players. Spoit just found a plant spot, though. Despite all the Toxic Babes, he's found a way to get this diffuse kit down, and there's no answer, and yes, there is. Xer comes back, and he finds the headshot. Now, that will cost him his life, but it's still a lot of time that they've wasted. Rampy and Jabates now in a 2v3, trying to deny the last 15 seconds of the round. Citizen picks up that diffuse kit. An opening pick now for Rampy again. He finds a third. Rampy on a Citizen. He just needs to hide, but Hyper's hunting him down, and he gets the final kill. Hyper saves a round that Rampy almost was able to dominate. M80 take their second.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Jesse, I mean, Rampy did dominate that round. I mean, he did get 3 kills and then a 4th one onto his teammate. You take that back. If that doesn't happen, you're looking at a very different outcome. But take a look at this. The pattern that emerged here for the second time, we saw this once on Bank. We're seeing it now just a little bit on Lair on the M80 attack. Their ability to find those sneaky little spots on the site that SSG Academy aren't keeping an eye on. Spoit eventually did get denied. The plant was not allowed to go down. But he did get an entry there. He did get that chance and was just a sliver of time left from actually getting that diffuser on the ground. There's a slight gap in the SSG Academy information, a slight delay in getting that to each teammate and knowing when that diffuser going down. And it may not have costed them the round there, but it was certainly a factor. M80 allowed to creep on into the site, make more progress than it looked like SSG Academy were ready for. Of course, credit goes to M80 for identifying that gap and exploiting it. Maybe that one got a little too close to call, but they still made it work.
Rampy and Hyper in a 1v1. What year is it? My God, love to see it. Man, Hyper also his first ever clutch since coming back and joining M80. That's his first ever 1vx, so congratulations to him. Of course, one that will certainly count in such an important game here like the LCQ. Taking down Rampy there. Now we move back to what seems to be the top floor. It's actually going to be Bunks and Briefing our bomb site. So this is one of those bomb sites where, again, if you're not used to watching a lot of Lair, it is critically important to hold up above. Basically, every plant can be denied with vertical pressure on this site, and it's a lot easier for the defense to hold up above than it is for them to hold the actual site itself. It seems like M80 will not be attempting to clear the top floor. Based on the current position, they could rotate. What some teams will do is they'll just get control of bottom green, and with that green control, they will hit the site and somehow try to avoid clearing out that top floor, whether that's with smokes, whether that's with a shield on the back of the planter. There's a lot of ways that you can try to not get denied from above, but ultimately every plant spot on this site is vulnerable. So you can see the intel is there, and there is pressure up above with Spoit playing that glass. But the question really is, what do M80 want to do for this push? Will they try to clear top floor, or are they going direct to site?
Well, the position of Spoit here just indicates that, at least for now, a little bit of patience may be the answer. Hoping to get these defenders a little antsy, get them to move around a little bit. Maybe find the opportunity to snag a kill. You see the smoke go down, good opportunity for just Spoit to sit back and wait. But very alone in this position. I mean, you look elsewhere, you see Citizen down below, joined by Hyper, joined by Cameraman. Kino's the first one to actually step up and get a kill, but he is quickly traded. Again, here's that explosivity from M80. Citizen in the site trying to make something happen, but where are the defenders? He can't find a single person. It's the verticality, the problem now for M80 that they need to alleviate. Big kill from Cameraman, but Hyper is traded. SSG Academy, if they can keep trading out, they will win this round. It's simple math at this point. You've got Citizen with a flash shield, Cameraman with the AK, but something needs to break here for SSG Academy. The last domino needs to fall if M80 want to win this. And look at the patience here from Jabates and Rampy, refusing to take a gunfight here. They're gonna force Citizen to clear them the old-fashioned way. They're gonna force M80 into this uncomfortable spot, and that could get them into trouble. The site still down below, but the defensive pressure in our 6 room overwhelming. Citizen working his way up. Blitz versus Warden. Who comes out on top? Guess what? It's Rampy who makes it happen. Actually, Jabates who comes in with the assist. Cameraman, no options for him as he is the only player left standing. And SSG Academy continue to make it look good on Lair.
Huge round from Jabates. 3 or 4 kills there. Not 100% sure if he did get the credit for killing that blitz. He certainly got the finish off. Really well done by him. You know, Jabates is a player that has had a rough couple of weeks. I gotta say, he was not playing in the open qualifiers. Dream was actually subbing in instead of Jabates. Jabates is down in Florida, so over the last couple of weeks, he suffered 2 hurricanes, lost power for a few days. Then he was hospitalized with pneumonia, which he's been talking about on Twitter over the last couple of days too. He seems to be doing a lot better now. A great round there, of course, seems healthy and in good spirits for this game as well. Jabate's critical, both getting the 2 kills that started that round off and gave that early man advantage to SSG Academy, and then 2 in the late round as well. That's why you want a guy like Jabates on your team. I'm sure Dream was a great sub, but when they really come down to it, when it's the most important game, they want Jabates.
Well, the way we're seeing Lair play out here, Jesse, it really feels like this is a pretty clear picture of what we might see on Consulate coming up. Obviously, they're very different maps, but it feels like we're seeing almost a mirror image of the playstyle here. Yes, you can play passive, you can go for the top-down clear, you can try to go for that extension on the defense, but you can also see the power of the blitz and the power of the glass and the smokes. I like M80's chances here. Of course, they've won this map so far this stage. They are the team here with a win on it. But going into Consulate, if they're able to stretch out a lead here and get a nice advantage, I'd like their chances going into map 3. Of course, they need to win this map if they want to go to map 3. But I think a lot of lessons here can be learned from both teams as to what works and what maybe doesn't.
Well, we want to break this tie now. 2-2 currently on the board, and we'll go, of course, back up to the top floor. This is the bomb site that most teams have been prioritizing. It's a bomb site you see a lot in ranked as well. I think most of the community favors this site as maybe the easiest to hold. I think there's still an open debate over whether it is the best bomb site. First stage of a map obviously takes some time to figure that out. So this is going to work in down below, not the Damos this time, but the Buck instead. Similar goal, going to be trying to work his way up green, maybe hit from the back as the rest of his team more is focused over towards the operations room. I say that. Kino actually in storage. Looks like this is going to be a full-on push into R6. Completely different from the last time that we saw this site. Seems like this time around, M80 are going to be focused on pushing the B bomb site, trying to work a plant through R6 room.
So far, SSG Academy have done a nice job of stopping the blitz and stopping this aggression. I mean, it's been 50-50 so far. It's why we're all square at 2-2. Kino tempting it there, but backing off. He knows there's a couple of defenders in his way. That's 3 defenders now staring at him. Vil will give his life away, but it was worth it because he just took down the blitz. The player who was trying to be the forefront of this execute has been felled. And you gotta think that it's gonna slow down the progress that M80 have already made.
Yeah, rough death from Kino. I mean, people talk about his shield play, not finding any luck today on that blitz. Of course, the Monty been banned both games, I believe once by each team. Spoit finds Focal, so that is a man advantage back in their favor. These last couple of players, Hyper as well, takes down Jabates. Now it's just got Exer and Rampy alone in the site. What can they do to hold on, Jonah?
Well, let's see, Exer dancing between it. He's got 1 smoke left. It's going to be critical that he finds something with it. 40 seconds, that's still a lot of time they have to waste. A goo mine in Rampy's pocket's not going to help much. They're just going to have to gun their way out of this. SMG-11, T5, great weapons for a situation like this. But in a 4 versus 2, well, certainly the odds are not in your favor. Exer, primarily concerned with the breach, doesn't know that there's someone close on the doorway. Flash will go out, and that ends Rampy's life, and Exer soon after. Hyper bringing a little bit of the energy as M80 get back on their feet and take the lead once again.
Yeah, I didn't like the initial blitz entry, finding himself in a bit of a crossfire, but once that one blunder was passed, M80's push was perfect there from start to finish, really clean, working their way around the site. Spoit was almost more of a back pressure. Usually he is kind of the tip of the spear. He's the entry for M80. And that round, he's doing a bit of a lurk, was going in through operations, was the last player who was still focusing over towards Master, over towards Mask. Really was distracting the smoke for a really long time in that 4v2. Ultimately didn't need to get the final kills. It was his teammates instead who cleaned things up, but I just like the positioning changes from M80 in that round. You could see how they completely tried to do something different. They've attacked that one bomb site now 3 different times in 3 different ways. Sometimes that's what separates a tier 1 team from a tier 2. You know, we see SSG Academy on Bank and even here running a lot of the same setups, a lot of the same strategies round after round. When they go back to the same site, of course, M80, even when they're hitting the bomb sites, they often have a different strategy, a different idea of how they want to play that round. I think the adaptation from M80, the real mix of strats that they brought out has been one of their biggest strengths this game.
Well, it's something they've always shown us, I think, throughout the stage, right? Their ability to change it up so dramatically, but no better case study than what we're seeing here on Lair. In front of our eyes, round by round, some pretty dramatic changes. at least in round 6, it doesn't feel like that change is going to be too overwhelming. I mean, Kino is still playing the blitz after all. The operators that surround him are largely different. But as they attack this basement site and already begin to make some good progress with those Vulcan canisters, you imagine things are going to look a little similar to what we saw earlier on in this map. Focusing on forcing those roamers back, maybe getting that opening kill, and once they do, allowing Kino to take that space and continue to push in. Jesse, I know you mentioned the spotty results that Kino has had on the blitz in a situation like this. Do you think this is the right call to go back to this again?
I'll trust him. I'll trust Kino's judgment. I mean, Kino is a great player for all the flack that he gets. He is still extremely good at what he does. That's why he's here. That's why he's on M80. With that, it looks like every player of SSG Academy, one logic bomb, and they will all rotate back to the basement. This, again, it feels very similar to what SSG did last time that they were on this bomb site, a light roam, and then quickly falling back to site, where they're going to have all 5 players alive. M80 now, they will soon realize that the entire roam is clear. Again, Lair is a big map. They could be tough sometimes to confirm that. They don't have much soft breach themselves. Here's one from Spoit. It's only his breaching charge that they'll have. Then maybe they can utilize some hard breach, maybe some Flores drones, but mostly it's this soft breach that they've got. To avoid that Kaid clause, of course, if you're new to Rainbow... Oh,
no way.
New to Rainbow Six, you can open it with 2 Selmas. If your ace doesn't get denied, though, I believe that nitro that came out, or whatever it was that stopped
No, look, there's still the nitros in Villain Jabate's pocket. Was that the Selma?
Shot from below? No.
Like, the Selma does some damage if you're standing on it, right?
I mean,
but
the
not
Selma
all
didn't
of your
pop
health.
off. The hatch is still closed. Look at this. They didn't manage to use that Selma. Whatever downed him also stopped the Selma from exploding.
Well done here. Focal, he's got impacts. You see the C4s, you've got shotguns. The mystery down onto Spoit. He's back on his feet, but with 20 HP and now a problem in terms of getting downstairs. M80 need a pretty dramatic pivot here with only 30 seconds left. The Vulcan fire is still standing in their way as it finally fizzles out. Kino will look to step up, watching for EDDs. Smart call, he knows there's a Kapkan in play. The smokes will come out, and here comes M80 on the swing. Spoit, he gets the first one. Hyper, his job is to get this diffuser down as the Candelas rain in from above. SSG Academy, where's the denial? Just in the nick of time. Only 9 seconds, but 2 defenders left to deny this here. Spoit, 20 HP, he's vulnerable, but he gets the diffuser on the floor. Jabate's now lost his teammate. It's just him alone. The 1v3. Focal on his back, a pre-fire, it won't matter. Citizen and Cameraman, they close it out 1 each, and M80 continue to make it work on Lair. 4-2 at the half.
It was a Kapkan trap that ended up downing Spoit, by the way. He runs through the doorway. The Kapkan
So delayed.
Downs him. I know, he was quite through the door, but there was nothing else that could have been. It was a Kapkan trap that not only downed him, but also stopped his hard breach that hatch didn't open. Ultimately, does it matter? Maybe not. M80 very comfortable through this half. Of course, this is their map pick. This is where they expect to succeed. They will get that 4-2 attacking half here on Lair, but it's those small things in Siege sometimes that will catch you off guard. Nice play by SSG Academy to get a little bit of damage done in that early round, but it is not enough through the late round. So now SSG Academy will swap over to the attack. They had no attacking troubles on Bank, but Bank was their pick. Bank is an attacker-sided map. This will be a harder challenge. I think Lair has a lot of opportunities for strong attacking teams to succeed. With that said, though, it's a brand new map, and we've not seen SSG Academy be so successful here in the past. So this will be the real test. If SSG Academy can battle it back, they'll have earned that 2-0 over M80, but it's certainly going to be a challenge now with them down 4-2 after 6.
Seeing M80's defenses, though, will be really the second opportunity to see that. We only saw a, one defensive round, two defensive rounds in their game against Los. They ended up winning that one 7-1. A very successful attacking half meant that we didn't really get a chance to see what M80 has to offer on the Lair defense. Already seeing a bit of creativity here with the Mira setup. You've got Spoit in position, utilizing those bandit batteries to bolster that position even further. M80, as they spread out along this top floor, not extending too far down below, it means that SSG Academy should have a fairly decent chance to step in and take this control should they want it. They've already dealt with the mirror window. That's impressive given the timeline. only 60 seconds in, and they've made that progress. But good work here from Vil with that utility. Those Rotero drones clearly finding their mark.
This is a cool second mirror window. Obviously, it's vulnerable if the outside wall gets opened up. You can clearly just shoot the canister. You can also get it from down below, and I think that's going to be the goal. Yes, Jabates doesn't find the window yet, but finds the head of Spoit. That's even better. Takes down the bandit. Spoit was trying to play kind of aggressive on these two mirror windows. Now Hyper's got to retake up this position, but with this angle being created down below, it makes it so difficult. Obviously, the attackers can try to use this angle, not just for kills, but to open the window up themselves. There are bandit batteries on the wall behind Hyper, but with the bandit dead, all it will take is a little bit of clear to clear those out. Of course, the player down below will be going for that. Jabates on the Ash, so important. Does he know there's another person watching his angle up above?
Ooh, Hyper, good timing on that C4. He'll get lit up for his troubles, but that is a fight he's happy to take and win. He removes the ace from play. Those Selmas at this point should have been utilized, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue here as, well, we look to the final minute. You see Rampy, he's taken control of that mirror window, at least almost. Shouldn't have to worry about anyone playing there. You just have to worry about the 4 remaining defenders positioned on the site. A smoke coming right at Jabates. He'll have to back off and delay a little bit of time. He's smartly aware of the possibility of some kind of a swing from the other side, but instead, Jabates down below, he is thriving right now. Having a heck of a game, now leading in terms of the kills for SSG Academy, but they still need a little something from the Ash. A little something from the rest of this team because they only have 20 seconds left to go. Cameraman, he denies the first. Jabates still making his impact. 3, 4 kills, only 1 more to find. He only has 9 seconds though. Have to move in. Citizen still alive, full HP, still a threat. M80 on the back of Citizen. Get an insane clutch to continue the streak.
Citizen so good in the high pressure situations. That's the second 1v1 final round that M80 have walked away with only a few different shots. This game could be absolutely with a different scoreline, but M80 dominant in the late rounds when the pressure is the highest. Full credit to Jabates, huge 4K coming through from him, but nobody else able to contribute in that round. I thought that they dealt with the mirror window setup perfectly. They used the Ash charge to deal with the first mirror. They go below to deal with the 2 players in the next mirror. Then Jabates just walks up the main stairs for 2. But unfortunately, the goo mine was giving away its position. Citizen seemed to know exactly what was going on. Citizen did play that perfectly in the 1v2. Might even did a 1v3 depending on how those downs went. He played fantastic, and of course, that's going to be good enough for the round for M80. Unfortunate that nobody else in SSG Academy who were collapsing in through display, who were maybe more towards the bathroom part of the map, who were more around operations, weren't able to get anything done that round. Just 1 more kill could have been good enough, but sometimes that's easier said than done, especially when you're against one of the best players in the world in Citizen.
Can't win any round easily. We knew that would be the case, but especially on Lair. I mean, you know that it's a map that can get a little unpredictable. That's where SSG Academy is hoping to maybe surprise M80, but this is M80's map pick. They walked into this with relative confidence, and you can see why. You don't necessarily want to win every round on the back of an insane clutch from Citizen, but that is certainly one way to do it, and it puts them in a nice 3-round lead. SSG Academy, though, I mean, for the most part, that was a very clean attack. If they just do that same thing again and just keep it a little tidier in the end, maybe give themselves another 5 seconds to work with, you got to think they'll have this here, but it's the early round problem this time instead of the late one. Spoit gets the first one. He now has to back off as there is a blitz running straight at him, but he's winning this one right now. 2 impacts, 4 HP left for Focal, and he takes him down with the Boss G. Ruthless finish for Spoit. Talk about opening up the round with a bang. That is 2 lovely kills for the Vigil. He has done his job and then some, Jesse.
Yeah, you're so happy with that, right? And we may not be done as well. Exer and Citizen both on the top floor, just inches away. Exer was pulling out a nade for a moment. They're trying to force some movements. Down here on the main floor, Rampy also trying to hunt down Cameraman. It's 2 separate clears. They're happening at the same time. Oh no, I don't think they actually know where Citizen's at. Extra drops us down instead to try to hunt down this one roaming Legion. It's Hyper in the 1v2. Citizen up above. Maybe could help later. Does he need the help though? It doesn't seem like it. Hyper gets both. Rampy and X are both fall, traded by Vil, but now he's in a 1v3 and he still has no idea that Citizen is upstairs. So with one quick trip down the green stairs, Citizen could end this one. They might have some idea someone's above, now staring at the hatch. Vil just knows he's in a precarious situation. He's got to be careful. He's got 60 seconds and a defuse kit in his pocket. The decisions he makes over the next minute will determine the end of this round.
Yeah, I mean, a minute is a while in Siege, but as one man against three, it's not likely that you're going to see much here. This one's going to come down to if SSG Academy can somehow find 4 rounds in a row here on the Lair attack. If they want to just send it to overtime, at this point, they just may be looking to Consulate, that third map, unless anything dramatic changes here. M80 just deploying utility just about everywhere, making sure they have all their bases covered. The smoke blocking Vil's first doorway, then blocking his second. He's just at 9 HP now as a result. The swing will come in from Cameraman, and he will win that one without much problem at all. It's M80, 6-2 right now, looking in control on Lair.
Definitely seem to be the dominant team on this map. I really like their attacks. Now they are flawless through 2 defenses, and that will prompt a late tack timeout. Both M80 on map 1 and SSG Academy now in map 2, saving their tactical timeouts until the last possible moment when their opponents have match point secured. SSG Academy, a bit of a larger mountain to climb. They've got to win 4 in a row coming off of this one. But in that previous round, it was really good performances from Spoit. Not only did he get 2 kills, but he got 2 really important operators, the Blitz and the Deimos. Those are typically your operators that can get things going. Oftentimes, we talk about Lair being a map that the attackers can isolate defenders, especially roamers, because it's often very big. It's hard for the defenders to retreat back to site. It's hard sometimes then to play with each other. But if Spoit's hitting every shot, he doesn't need to play with anybody. He doesn't need to get traded. He's just winning his fights. Same thing went for Hyper. Yeah, maybe he was a bit isolated. Maybe Citizen was a bit too far to help him with trades, but they didn't need to trade when they're hitting shots like those. So, well played. 6-2 now. M80, through their entire history, it's only been 4 rounds, have never lost a defense on Lair. They'll have to lose 4 in a row, or we're going to map 3.
And maybe not the dream for M80 to show off what they're capable of on this map before, well, more LCQ competition and potentially the major. But at this point, you just need to beat SSG Academy. Map 1 proved that this is not a team that's going to go down easily. T2 or not, they are a threat. They've got the experience. They've been in these LCQs before. They've fought against T1 teams plenty of times. And at least on Bank, they prove that they are more than comfortable going toe-to-toe with any roster, even if they may be the favorites here, the top seed in this LCQ bracket. But it's best of 3, single elimination. That means you've got 1 life, but it also means you have 3 maps, and that is what M80 have relied on to this point. They may not have taken their opponent's map pick to start, but Lair is firmly within their grasp as they look to Consulate as the map where they could potentially turn the tide and take this one, sending SSG Academy packing. But still a long way to go here. A lot of presence being applied on this top floor in R6 room by M80 as they look to extend the majority of their defense up above.
Yeah, for the first time in team history, M80 will attempt to defend the middle floor of Lair. Despite that, though, they're not going to be too unfamiliar. Their defense, especially over towards Master, was very similar to how they held the top floor. The same mirror window that looks into the hallway, the same bandit batteries to keep the outside wall closed. And then, of course, a lot of players inside of our 6 room, as you mentioned, only leaving Cameraman by himself down inside of the site. Very common on this bomb site. Nothing too crazy about a 4-man extension up above. SSG Academy, similar to M80, do look like they want to clear this top floor extension. They've got Jabates here on the bathroom window playing the Deimos, and they've got Focal on the Blitz ready to burst on in as soon as they get these logic bombs and the B information.
Well, there's that info at least attempted here. Citizen, his position spotted. Logic bomb out, lot of information at their fingertips. Can they find something with it? Jabates not looking at the floor. Be careful, there's Hyper. He steps up and fades away just in time. Nitro Cell will not connect, but Vil, he certainly will. A 3v3, make it a 3v2 as Focal and Rampy come alive. A 3v1 all of a sudden as Hyper, who hit the escape on that last retreat, now needs to, well, find 3 more kills. SSG Academy may not have started well, but now it is certainly going well. This diffuser going down in their 3rd round. This victory a second away, as long as they can pin down and prevent Hyper from going for this counter defuse. Hyper thought he had some information to work with, but that info is old. No one in that position any longer. That red ping only so helpful. His position is known, and now that's the problem because he's going to have a blitz running at him in just a second. Here comes Focal. There's the flash and the kill from Hyper. Not over yet, but still 2 players to find, sitting up above and safe. 1 close around the other side of the bomb, and that's enough for Vil. SSG Academy still alive here on Lair.
An attacking lineup of Finka, Blitz, Deimos, Grim, and Dokkaebi. I believe that one was in How to Have Zero Fun as a Defender in Rainbow Six Siege magazine. That is a horrible lineup to have to go up against if you're M80, and they got rolled over. Great top floor clear. I really think Vil was the star of the show in that push. It got kind of chaotic, but they even could have had a flawless round if they had been able to find that kill on a Hyper. This one here where he just got away and dropped through the hatch. His phone was ringing. He could have been found out by Jabates, but it ultimately wasn't needed. Every other player on M80 ended up falling, 2 of them directly by the hands of Vil. Just a well-coordinated, explosive push up above. You know, it's 2024. This is what attacks sometimes look like in Rainbow Six Siege. Blitz and Dokkaebi and Deimos and Grim. The information is all there for SSG Academy. Well, the intel's not bad from M80. They still have their cameras where they might have them, their mirror windows. The push happens so fast, you get so overwhelmed. There's just nothing that you can do about it. Catching them a bit off guard there. The good news for M80 is if they don't want to, they don't ever have to try to defend that bomb site again, as they can go back to the top floor, back to the basement as many times as they want until this game ends.
Yeah, they won R6 room and Master Office to start the half, and they can go back here until they win it. As you said, Jesse, that's the kind of advantage you get when you are up such a dramatic lead. A 4-round cushion, now just 3. But really, they can just keep doing the same thing over and over again until it eventually clicks. Of course, that will generally mean that SSG Academy also get the reps on it and can figure out what you're bringing to the table on defense. As we said before, they've been fairly successful on these attacks, even if they did not win those first 2. One of them they should have won. Citizen had to go for an insane 1v3 clutch to just put M80 on top there. So SSG Academy have looked good for the most part. But can they remedy the score line that they now stare against, the deficit that they have to overcome? Focal will move in quickly, get that Selma on the wall. Jabates quickly following and will already take that corner. Look at the space they're trying to take, and as quickly as they are, unfortunately losing Xer as they try to work their way in.
Yeah, Cameron's in the basement, by the way. Don't know if SSG Academy were aware of that. Nitro also coming out. He gets shot. Jabates saved by his teammate of Focal, shooting the Nitro cell and helping him out a little bit. Jabate's still on 60 HP, so he absolutely would have been blown to smithereens by that. Cameraman's still down in the basement. This is a very traditional kind of mask-focused push from SSG Academy. This is what you'll see in most of your ranked games, as they just try to go direct into the site, maybe partly through the outer wall. Cameraman makes it back up through green and to help out his teammates. What I love from M80 too is just the adaptation, right? I mean, they had the mirror windows last time on this site. That got countered hard by Jabates, so what do they do instead? Oh, they bring the Goyos. They still got to be careful with that bottom pressure though. Just because you don't have those mirror windows doesn't mean that this is going to be a safe place to play. Boy, trying to go for these bandit tricks, but having a really tough time of it thanks to that Deimos of Rampy down below.
But look how things have slowed down here, Jesse. Through the first minute, it feels like this is where the attack had already worked their way to. And still, they remain in that position. The difference is now they're dying there. Down below, Rampy, he goes down. Jabates, who's been hunting for this kill for the last 30 seconds, has been unable to come up with it. Spoit is still alive. Citizen is still alive, and while Citizen on this site seems to just power up. He finds another kill. It's Focal and Jabates, the only 2 left. A 3-round deficit to overcome, but a 3-man deficit to overcome in this one, and that is simply not possible. M80 will clean things up on Lair, in control the whole way, and they will send us to map 3.
Feels like SSG Academy are going to need a little bit more time in the classroom when it comes to Lair, just not able to match up to what may be one of North America's best Lair teams in M80. 2 dominating wins now over Los and SSG Academy, but dominating wins nonetheless. We will see map 3 coming up next. Should be an extremely fun game. We worried a little bit for M80 after the first map, but they showed us exactly what they can do on map 2. Chat, don't go anywhere because the map 3 of Consulate is coming alive right after this break.
Side bathroom, Ben.
Far from dead.
I shot the second layer. They cannot go through, really. Cannot go through.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Perfect, you know.
Now we chill, guys. We've won the
I'm playing
round.
top match, okay?
Can you hold that contact? Can you hold that contact, you know?
No,
hold the
you
contact
hold
here.
it. You hold a contact. That's not for you.
Heard. I'll ping.
One floor main, I think. Sound.
Good off, guys.
Yeah, main. 1 HP.
Nice! Let's go! Come on!
Shit.
That's totally fucking.
Well, M80 digging in there on Lair and walking away with a win, which pushes us on to a map 3. I mean, I didn't expect the series to go this far, guys, but they really did look like they were back on form on that map.
Yeah, I mean, that's the M80 that we're used to seeing. And I think it's also the consistency issues that we see from M80 consistently showing up. I mean, obviously, I don't know how many times we got to bring it up, but it really comes down to the maps, because if you bring it to a map that's a lot more linear, it plays to M80's strengths, they just run away with the series. I mean, they make it look like a cakewalk. Obviously, you know, SSG Academy tried to beat them on the utility game, which is what got them that win on Bank. But obviously on a map like Lair, where M80 has fail safes in play, if they aren't able to get these plants down, I mean, it just goes to show that M80 is still a strong team. They really need the map to line up in their favor. And I think that's what we saw here on Lair.
I mean, not even just fail safes. I mean, that we've heavily talked about this teamwork and coordination from them. This map definitely forces it. And what we were seeing from M80 was that team play, that they were able to play off one another, go for these trades, even have some individual plays just immediately be followed up by one another. Spoit specifically having a really good performance so far. But yeah, I mean, the team play is the strongest feature that this team allows. And then now you're going to go into the last map of Consulate, another map that is very dynamic in its play style. It's very linear. You're going to be able to play together. So this is a very scary thing when you get into this third map, because now you're on that winning you're on that winning energy from M80. We're now at Space Station Academy. You have played this twice throughout your qualifiers, winning it once, losing it once, where M80 hasn't played it once. So it's the unknown entity of what M80 possibly can pull out.
The biggest thing that I liked seeing out of M80 was the fact that they were trading, and that's what we didn't see in Bank. We highlighted it. We said that we needed trades to be the primary focus for M80 going into Lair, and they were using that blitz almost every round. And every time the blitz was going in, we were kind of scratching our heads thinking there wasn't really much use out of the shield and it wasn't being used to its full potential. But even though blitz was getting taken down early on M80's side, they were instantly getting that trade. And so it's a fair trade to lose your shield, but you're able to get that pick back. I'd say it put M80 in a great position to play and practice the fundamentals. And now going into map 3, they've got that rush shaken off. And you're right, Gabe. When Consulate is a map that is just so close together that it really plays off of each other. It plays off of people finding success, being able to get that trade.
Yeah, and a good thing that we're seeing here is Cameraman specifically stepping up. He didn't have the best performance in that Bank map, being their IGL, where again, that was hard to clamp down a team that you're unfamiliar with. But in a map, again, where it's closer, you're forced to work together. It's a lot easier to work together. We see Cameraman absolutely topping the charts, going 11-5, having the highest rated EPS throughout that map. So I expect the exact same result going into map 3. But this really does come off the footing of SSG Academy of just not getting in their own head, not letting that 7-2 really distraught them, and just focus on their strengths and realize what they did wrong in Lair and then implement that now going into Consulate.
Yeah, I was going to say that was a major concern for me when I was watching Space Station Gaming Academy play this, is you could almost see them deflating in real time, like as they were losing these rounds. How do you think they bounce back on Consulate? What's the plan here going forward for them?
I mean, obviously, it's not falling back into that bruiser gunfight mentality that we heard Rampy talk about in the early stage before the game started. Bank, they won off of being strategical, winning off of the utility Lair. They tried using that utility, but it didn't work out because M80 was just simply outgunning them. But now it goes to a map like Consulate where because of the verticality, you can win maps, especially on defense, just based off denying the plant from below, from above, using that verticality. So SSG Academy has to be able to flex the brain capacity that they have and rely on winning strategically, as opposed to if they just kind of get down on themselves because of Lair, just try to go to, oh, let's just outgun M80. That's not going to work. They have to stick to what got them that bank win, which was the utility. And I mean, you can see in the cams, they look like they're having a good time. They look like they're focused. They're not letting it get to them. They're not letting them hold them down. And that's good. That's a first step that you'd want to see.
And I love that you bring up the utility there, Fox, because yeah, this map is very utility oriented and playing those vertical holes, specifically when you're playing those top floors, looking down at the mid site or even basement, or even if you're attacking, trying to come up from underneath and force players out of position here. So yeah, I mean, I do definitely want to see SSG Academy focus on that utility game, but on that back end, be able to switch around their play style, understand if something just can't be done or they can't get a certain piece of the map, to pivot and rotate and put players in positions to do that. Because if we can't see that on a map like Constant, where sometimes you just can't get into the building, you just can't get into a specific site, and you need to be pivoting players, that's where I want to see SSG Academy really focusing on being able to do that, is allowing that dynamic of gameplay to be irreversible in any situation, given if they are struggling. And then for M80, I expect them to apply that pressure and not give SSG Academy the control, the pressure that they want to apply. I want to see M80 really set the pace of this game and keep up the consistency and the teamwork that we just saw coming out of that Lair match.
That's fair. I mean, I'll ask you kind of maybe a blunt question, guys, but just given what we've seen over the past two maps, do you think this is still M80's match to lose? Are they still well in the driver's seat here, or is, you know, this a genuine chance for an upset?
I mean, of course, if you're M80, you're the pro team. You should win. It shouldn't have gotten to 2-0.
Absolutely.
You let the map slip away. Even if it's not your map, you are M80. You are a pro team. You should theoretically always be in the driver's seat. Now, I do think SSG Academy has a lot up their sleeve, but I mean, this is M80's game to lose at the end of the day. And on a map like Consulate that they've had a lot of experience on throughout the stage, I mean, they've had the chance to play SSG, the real team in Pro League, on it. I'm sure they should be able to handle SSG Academy.
I agree.
Well, I mean, you would think, right, that's kind of what we're going to get to. I think my concern is, how does M80 ensure that the players that really they seem to be need-making plays, specifically I'm thinking of Cameraman and Hyper, both of whom came alive on that Lair map, how do you get them into a position, get them into a rhythm where they look more like Lair and less like Bank?
It really just comes down to the team play, and that's exactly what we were seeing in Lair. It forced the team play because it is a very condensed map, and that's exactly what Consulate is, especially on those attacks. So this map does favor that. It does allow Cameraman to be able to set his team up for success and go for a proper execute and just getting players into the building. But again, if they can't somehow manage to do that, I find that hard to believe because of how this map plays and the functionality of it. But that really is what it comes down to, is that the smaller map truly does allow M80 and Cameraman to just play a lot better, work together, use their utility, and ultimately set them up for success to go for those executes into that late round.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason why Cameraman was able to find such success on a map like Lair is specifically because of the utility. I mean, he is the backline, so is Hyper, and we talked about it. If they can't find the entries, they can't use the utility late round, then there's no reason that Cameraman and Hyper are even in the server. But if they're able to find those entries, focus on the executes, or focus on denying the executes, then Cameraman and Hyper are able to flourish in their own. They're able to play their positions, get those C4 kills, get the diffuser down so that they can play around it. And I think it's all about the entry game. Once they get in, then they just need to focus on the execute. Don't worry too much about overshadowing and demolishing SSG Academy. You just need a win. It doesn't matter how pretty it is.
Well, it's do or die here for these two teams on map 3, so let me turn it over to a pair of casters who obviously know a thing or two about living on the edge. It's Jonah and Jesse.
Thank you, Corbeck. Living on the edge? I don't know. I don't know what's going on here, but I do know that this one's going to be an exciting one, Jesse. One odd stat that I will raise before we get into this third map is the unlikely chance that we've seen this pattern emerge all throughout the last 2 years. The top seed entering the LCQ has never qualified, at least in the last 2 years since this system has been adapted. In 2023 Stage 1, it was Beast Coast coming into the LCQ as the top seed. Jesse, you remember this. It was Sonics who ended up going to the major. 2023 Stage 2, Wildcard were the top seed. SSG goes to the major, and 2024 Stage 1 OXG were the top seed, and SSG emerges at the top spot. Maybe the 1 seed is a curse, Jesse. M80 have to shake off that curse if they can, win this map 3 if they can, because SSG Academy have proven that they are here to fight.
That they have, and we've got the bans getting underway here. Monty being banned by SSG Academy, a little surprising. Thought maybe M80 would want to take that one out. They typically have been banning a lot of Monty recently. Next up, the bans are interesting. It's going to be Goyo from M80. They have some really weird constant defenders ban. I did not expect that one. SSG Academy, I would expect maybe a Valkyrie again. That's what they banned last time. They've banned it before on Consulate. It's not a bad operator for M80 by any means, but it'll be a zombie instead. I think all reasonable bans here. Goyo can again be really effective, top floor especially, on Consulate to stop some of those plants that come on in. You've seen the players in M80 go for some fun strategies attacking the top floor. Kino Amaru comes to mind with some special kicks. We'll see if any of that comes through. That can be good with a Goyo ban, of course. But interesting bans nonetheless. And we will start on that top floor anyways. Focal jumping on that Tachanka. He did exceptional with this operator back on bank. They'll be trying to repeat history now on Consulate.
You gotta think a very similar strategy here will work wonders for them. I mean, it was fairly effective on bank. It's why, well, part of the reason why they ended up with that win. Really good use of the Shumikas. Sure, it's not quite as powerful and potent as those Vulcan canisters, but the one thing it brings that the Goyo doesn't is versatility, Jesse. It allows you to shoot those anywhere you want at any given time. Sure, not as much area, not as much time, not as much damage. But the Goyo canisters, you slap those down, and that's where they live for the rest of the round. Focal can change it up, adapt to where that attack is coming from, and it's part of the reason why it is such a viable approach. Of course, this is also a reaction to the fact that the Goyo is banned. That was something that M80 wanted to remove from play. M80, if they want to bring a shield, it'll have to be the Blitz because the Monty was banned by SSG. So we'll see how this starts out for M80. They'll be the ones to kick things off on the attack. You've got Hyper with the Ying. Not too much of a surprise to see her in play, given that if she's not banned, you bet your ass that she is going to come into the mix here with those Candelas in hand.
And M80, they love their Ying more than almost anybody else. Usually it's Kino working this operator, but Hyper can be extremely effective with this op as well. I expect this to be a pretty standard CEO window take. They might drop yellow, they might go for something a little crazy with it, but I don't expect this to be an admin full clear. Just look at where the players are positioned right now. There's a lot of utility set up from SSG Academy on the admin side of the map in terms of shields and magnets and mute jammers, so I think it does make sense to go for a direct window take here. You will have to deal with that Tachanka, but ultimately it's better than dealing with the Goyo. The first Candela being prepped from Hyper. They could be going for a fast execute here, Jonah, but puts it away, so perhaps not for now. Bottom floor control is really important for this attack. If you can use that buck to dislodge Focal or dislodge some of these close players that can deny the window with a good swing, that could be massive.
Potentially be the answer. Focal, you see the fire coming out here. Not enough to deny it though. Kino is in position. Is he being damaged here? No! Avoiding the fire, securing the plant. Spoit, good coverage. He finishes the Tachanka for good. The shield now, obviously not going to be a factor here for SSG. They now have to make something happen on this retake. And what are they going to do? Citizen, he drops down and gets taken care of by Jabates. A 4 versus 4 though, but look at the time. There's only 20 seconds, and SSG Academy have so much left to do on this retake. The players on the rappel, they're not going anywhere. Spoit, Hyper, Kino, and then Spoit to close it out. M80, beautiful start.
So usually you'll see Tachanka playing kind of between the sites, back by the meeting window. As long as nobody repels in that meeting window, it's a better angle to deny the plant with the Tachanka. Based on where Focal was playing, he couldn't actually deny the plant with those fire grenades. So he had to step up and swing in order to stop that plant, which obviously was not a very successful strategy. Players down below catching him off guard, horizontal play as well. There were air jabs that he kept getting hit by. It was Yeah, it was a low success rate strategy, I'd call it, from Focal. Certainly felt like his bank plays on that Tachanka were better. So, yeah, not the greatest defense that we've seen. A pretty clean plant from M80 where they didn't even need to really fake it.
Well, M80, a good start. Can they keep that going? SSG Academy, obviously, we saw what they tried to do on the defense. They tried to bring that play with the Shumikas. They tried to shut that quick execute down. They know that kind of thing is coming on that site. It's something we see so often, teams trying to get that explosive attack done. And when you have the Capitao, when you have the Ying in play, you've got all the utility you could possibly need to make that happen from the M80 side of things. So as SSG Academy rightly recognized what they'd have to deal with, they just could not shut it down. So a slight pivot here, same site, but trying to get it done a different way. This time Focal bringing the smoke instead of the fire. Same lineup on the attacking side here for M80 and same initial approach. Citizen entering down below. His job will be to relocate those defenders up above. Same positioning for Hyper and Kino, readying themselves to potentially go for something quick. You see the drone in. You see M80 looking like they want to do this, Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, Focal in a better position now to try to plant, but below here, the Candelas can be a problem. M80, if it's not broke, don't fix it. This is a very similar setup, of course, as well. Really, it's going to be, can you deny that plant as it comes in? Can you stop the plant from happening? You don't have bottom floor control. Citizens made sure of that. Made sure of that. A lot of pressure again on Focal. This time the Candelas in through the meeting window, and the plant will start from Kino.
Again, the fire, not enough. The smoke, the C4, it's too late, and it's a team kill. He gets the kill on Kino after the diffuser goes down and kills a teammate at the same time. Disaster strikes for SSG, and M80, the same attack twice, well, appears to be equally as successful. Long range, can they get the diffuse? The smoke's gonna be trouble. Focal will try to stick it out, being untouched. The swing, though, there's Spoit right on cue. Nothing that can be done against these players on the rappel. Rampy, I mean, he might as well just end this one here. There's 8 seconds left, no time to counter defuse. 4 attackers to find, and M80 have done the same attack again. And look at that, the same results.
You brought 4 C4s, 3 toxic babes, and you can't deny what is one of the most common and default plants on the map. It's a strong plant, don't get me wrong. It's hard to deny that window plant that M80 have gone for now twice in a row, but I mean, you're dedicating almost your entire operator lineup to this one objective, and you're still struggling with it. SSG Academy, they got to workshop that bomb site. It's not going well for them. They know exactly what M80 want to do. It's not a surprise play by M80. It's not a shock to them. They're not getting caught off guard. They're not being outplayed strategically. I think they're just really struggling with the execution of denying that plant. And this is a bomb site. The post plant is super favorable for the attackers. It's really hard to win that site as the defenders if the diffuse kit has already hit the ground. SSG Academy in back-to-back rounds run into the exact same problem of not being able to deny that plant. M80, a common strategy for them. They execute it perfectly. No notes, air jabs, Thatchers, Ying Candelas, Capitao Firebolts, everything they could possibly want they brought, and they executed to perfection. SSG Academy, I would be surprised if they return to that site, honestly, for the rest of the game.
Yeah, let's avoid that if you're SSG Academy. I think it's as simple as that. You know exactly what's coming twice, and you can't deny it either time, even when making adjustments to do it. Obviously, not great look for them, but you gotta give it up for M80 for what they were able to do. Those were 2 very well executed attacks against a defense who knew you were coming, and you still won it anyway. It's very powerful stuff. Really shows you the control that M80 seem to have on this map right now, but can they keep it up on these other sites as we begin to rotate around? This time towards the basement as SSG Academy smartly rotate away from that top floor site. But the plan of attack here for Hyper will start almost the exact same way. His job is still to entry on that middle floor and get control to use that skeleton key. The difference? He's the first one to go down. a tough blow here early for M80, as that is a very important player, and lacking another critical source of soft destruction, they're going to have to fight their way out of this with bullets. Explosivity may not be the way.
Yeah, tough to be losing your Buck player while both your Jackal and Deimos are still outside the building. Citizen's Point now get active, but it doesn't matter. Vil hits the head nonetheless. Now finally some trades come through. Cameraman, after 2 of his teammates will fall, he will go up and get the 2 trades. So that's 2 players now down on both sides. Spoit's retaken up above too. He's got this full top control. Every other player left on SSG Academy is in the basement, but that was costly. Buck and Deimos, 2 of the best vertical operators in the game. You've gotten the top floor control, but you don't have a great way to do much with it. You've got a secondary shotgun on Jackal. That will have to be enough, because otherwise you have no soft breach to speak of. These bandit batteries and these Kaid claws keeping all of the hard breach closed so far as well. They've got angles on the garage wall, but nothing else. If they can't find these electro claws, they're gonna have a real trouble opening into the site. And Cameraman, not ideal. If you don't know, by the way, these X-Kairos, the explosive radius is large enough to destroy the electro claw. That's what happened right there. Sorry, right here probably. There we go. Electro claw's been destroyed. Still 12 more X-Kairos, but the time here, Jonah, is the biggest problem.
Yeah, they've wasted so much time needing to deal with this utility in a bit of a roundabout way. So even if they can't open that hatch, look, you can't push in from that side. The garage approach is pretty much sealed off. I don't know what progress Kino has been able to make, but this 3v3 with 20 seconds, I mean, it's going to favor SSG Academy 9 times out of 10. Can M80 pull it off? Xer's been down. It's good awareness from Kino to make that happen, but Focal, Jabates, Spoit, 1v1, 5 seconds, gotta look the other way, and he gets it done. Unbelievable. Brings it back in a 1v3. What can't this man do?
It's not fair. I don't know, man. Spoit is just ridiculous in some of these engagements. I maybe was critical that he wasn't more involved in the early round there, was playing the Jackal, didn't find any of those opening picks. His teammates took them instead, but my God, he steps up when it matters the most. Huge late round play coming out from Spoit, the best player on M80, really showing us why he has such an impact on this team. I thought positioning was so much better for SSG Academy there. Every single piece of Heart Breach was still closed. They had a couple of angles in the garage wall, but nobody was playing them. Everything was closed. SSG Academy just to stop 2 players from server and 1 player coming in from yellow, but they couldn't quite do it. Spoit, 7-0, 1 assist to his name. He has been flawless this game, as have M80.
Well, 1v3, basically a 1v2 because 1 player was already down in that situation. Yeah. But an insane clutch from Spoit, no matter how you want to look at that, how you want to piece that apart. A round that M80 truly had no business winning. We said it in the middle of the round, but if you are not able to get much to really any hard breach done on that basement site, you should never be able to pull that off. It takes a miracle, and thankfully 1 showed up in the lobby for M80. Spoit, I mean, he is truly inhuman sometimes, the things he's able to pull off. Should SSG Academy have allowed that to happen, given the advantage, the utility, the lack of hard destruction? Well, we know the answer. It's no. They still had the advantage there and should have been able to close it out, but I mean, that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with lethal weapons on the side of M80, who may not have been firing on all cylinders on that first map of the night, but clearly have awoken here on Consulate. So 3-0, a very clean start for this M80 attack in SSG Academy. Jesse, well, they're left scrambling again, trying to find a bomb site they can defend.
That they are, of course. Now SSG Academy, this is not getting any easier as the game keeps on progressing. Spoit is firing. That is not what you want. We go to a piano bomb site now instead. Lurking up the stairs, Citizen, hungry for an opening pick. He's now taken the Jackal away from Spoit. He will find Jabates up here. The drone in front of him doesn't even need the Inox as he holds this 1 cross. Will it be given? Jabates, very patient so far. Oh, careful with the jammer or the utility that's on the floor. Gotta be very cautious with this, but for now, he does survive, and I think with the Banshee giving away his position, he'll choose just to leave.
Well, Jabates misses the Nitro Cell and a piece of utility that maybe he'd like back. But he is still alive, and at the end of the day, that's the most important thing here. Being pressured by the Bees here, and he has not given up this position. Spots the arm of one, the head of another, and he's able to at least get the life of Citizen before eventually going down. But the trade quickly found from both Kino and Spoit. M80 take the advantage back once again. No immediate pressure around Jabates or Vil. That was the trade they were hoping to find. Everyone else a little more passive here on the defense. Kino's been down in the meantime, though. I wonder where he was shot from. Picked back up, so regardless, still that 4v3, and Focal maybe trying to get a bit too active for his own good here. Will reveal his position, but Rampy, as he does the same, well, he'll claim the kill onto Spoit. There's that player finally shut down, his first death here on Consulate. And a good time for it, too. SSG Academy still hunting for their first round, and Rampy might just be the man to find it. Single-handedly stopping the M80 momentum in its tracks. He now has 2 kills on the round. Still looking for more. Hyper doing what he can to try to deal with this, but Focal's not going to let it happen. Only 5 seconds left, and M80 kind of fell asleep at the wheel there for a moment and let the time expire. SSG Academy, they're on the board.
So M80 in the early round there, they got a good man advantage, which you saw there in the 4v3. But the key thing is it took them a lot of utility to get that. They had to use all 5 of the Grim Bees to get those kills. They had to use all of their Candelas. They had no more utility once they found themselves in a 4v3. And naturally, when there's no utility, the defenders are going to have a bit of an advantage. They use their positioning. Rampy hit some great shots through the midst of that as well. Rampy, one of the most experienced players in the entire world, a world champion at that, an SI MVP back in the day for the Space Station main team. Some great play coming out from him in that round, and obviously hugely impactful to claw back that man disadvantage and finally put SSG Academy on the board.
A big round there. One that could have absolutely gone either way. I mean, you saw how 50-50 those gunfights were, but right at the midpoint here of this first half on Consulate, you've got to recognize that, I mean, that's a big turning point. I mean, either M80 have 4 rounds in a row on you and really have the firm control of the map they were looking for, or on the other hand, you get a little bit of that control back, you find a little bit of that momentum again, and, you know, maybe that's enough to get SSG Academy that spark that they were looking for. We'll find our answer as we dive into round 5 and return once again to this basement site. Barring an insane clutch from Spoit, this would have gone SSG Academy's way last time. So I think a reasonable site selection. And Jesse, I think it's safe to say that we agree it's a good thing they're avoiding that top floor for now.
100%. We'll see what happens in round 6, but for SSG Academy, I do like this site rotation over the last couple of rounds. I think it's smart to go back to the basement. For M80, I'd like to see their entry improve a little bit here on this bomb site. Obviously, they've got the Deimos, they've got the Jackal. These are operators that like to find early picks, that like to hunt down players. Spoit and Citizen are the primary and secondary entry. Doesn't matter, though, because your hard support IGL is finding heads. Jabate's the first one to die, as Cameraman on the Habana managed to pick up that kill. Meanwhile, the 2 players that are entering on M80 have taken firm control of the top floor. Rampy is top yellow, maybe going for a bit of a flank, but the moment doesn't seem like he wants to make any moves. We'll keep an eye on him to see if he does move anywhere. If he finds anybody, it'll be Citizen. And nope.
Yeah, backing off here. Thought he might have had a chance and eventually decided to give up on that move, maybe play a little safer here, knowing that Jabates is gone. I mean, this is the classic situation. As a defensive team, you're faced with that tough choice of, all right, we've lost a man here. Do we get aggressive to try to bring that advantage back, maybe take an additional risk, or play a little extra cautious? And I think that Rampy, at least right now, is making the right decision, because so far, M80, really the only pressure they've applied here is to the very top floor. They still have a lot of map control to obtain, and I mean, take a look at the clock. There is almost just a minute remaining here. Only now are they attempting to get this garage wall open. A lot of square footage still to cover here, Jesse, and, well, not the most time in the world to do it.
No, certainly not. Kino makes another angle in the garage wall, but not looking to open that up fully, at least not yet. The rest of his team still playing from up above. Looks like they will get the hatch open this time around. So you saw they cleared the claw previously, but they didn't actually get the hatch open. Now they have seemingly opened the hatch, as we heard that. Citizen down the spiral stairs, caught on the default cam. Where is Cameraman going with the defuse kit? That's my main question. He could drop the hatch, but instead it's going to be a back hit. They all go towards servers. 3 in servers, Citizen spiral stairs, and Kino yellow. That'll be the push. Very little time, though.
20 seconds. Still a man advantage, but that will change quickly if Vil has his way. Shotgun around the other side. That's one. Can he find the second? Both of the kills are his. A 3v1 now completely flipped. Really a 2v1 with Focal down, but Kino is not even inside the map at this point. He was outside, playing comfortably, playing safe, but what did that get M80? Well, a whole lot of nothing. Round 5 to SSG Academy. That's 2 in a row as they've stopped the bleeding finally.
Much like how SSG Academy don't seem to have a good grasp on the top floor defense of this bomb site, I don't know if M80 have a great grasp on the basement attack. That time around, they did a very similar push where they got top floor control, and they eventually ended with a server execute minus Kino, who was over towards garage wall in yellow. It's the exact same push, but I just feel like, especially after banning the Dokkaebi, there's so many little corners when you're pushing in from servers. There's so many rat angles, and you saw Vil playing one of those perfectly with the shotgun. You saw how effective that can be. Rampy got 2 huge kills as well. He continues to stretch his lead as the top fragger for his team. It just feels like SSG Academy had so many good positions to play around down inside a server, and M80 didn't have a good way with so little time of clearing those positions. Logic Bomb could have been big, more time in the clock could have been big, but both times it felt like they really did struggle on that execute. They go 1 for 1 on that site regardless though, and now they get to go back up to the site that they seem to be absolutely dominant on. One difference is we see Focal playing the Echo, and he's choosing to hide the entire prep phase, meaning this operator may have gone undroned by M80.
Maybe that's the difference. A little bit of incognito play here for SSG. If you can't win this in a heads up, I'll show you mine, you show me yours kind of situation. Maybe you just, hide. They don't know the Echo's in play. You don't know the Yokai drones are in play, but look at this. Spoit's on the IQ. A perfectly timed adjustment to identify the presence of the Echo. You gotta believe it's just a matter of time until they get their finger on this. Of course, they have to deal with the combination of the Echo and the smoke, as Xer has taken up the role of that denial. They still have 2 nitro cells. We said this before, you gotta think SSG Academy are able to deny the plant, but we were wrong before. M80 proved us wrong, and well, we'll see if they can do that again. First checkbox already done. Pressure down below, skeleton key working well, intel obtained.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's going to be another similar push. Yeah, they don't have the Ying. They're going with the Glaz instead this time, so they are switching things up. Kino does love his snipers. They've also, of course, got the IQ to help out with the Echoes and the cap cans and all of this. So they've got a lot of good operators still on the board for M80. 50 now as they start to open things up. My question is, what do they get done with this Glaz before they execute?
You know, where is that pressure going to happen, and where is it going to come from? You see Kino right now. AFK on the roof for a second, just trying to find the repel button. Smokes out, looking through the window, trying to provide this cutoff. Spoit, he's getting a little more active than that. Ooh, a little surprise here, SSG Academy. Weren't ready for this. Jabates and Rampy try to fight back, a 2v3 as they try to make something happen. A C4, it'll find one, but now it is Jabates who needs to find the last 2. Plenty of time here for M80 to work with. Plenty of information. Jabates, his position identified by the bees. He's in a crossfire, and he may not know it yet. Hyper on the swing, and M80 will secure it. That top floor bomb site, they were all over it, and they emerged from the half at the lead by 2.
I will give them credit, Jonah. They stopped the plants. They did not allow M80 to get their initial plant down. Kino came in the meeting window and was C4'd. Problem is everybody else on SSG Academy ended up dying, and that really is by design. M80, what top teams do that a lot of teams lower outside of the Pro League level don't tend to do is, even when they have a strategy that works perfectly, once you've given your opponent 1 or 2 chances to adapt to it, you just change for the sake of changing. And that push from M80 was very different from the first 2 times they attacked on that bomb site, despite a lot of similar operators. They brought their defuse kit in the meeting window to the CEO window. They had Spoit getting more active, jumping in the bathroom window to try to take more gunfights. All of the players on M80 were actively getting into sight, actively entering the building, taking those gunfights, which again caught SSG Academy off guard. And a lot of those gunfights were won by M80. So, you know, SSG Academy, they thought they had some kind of an answer there. They tried to do something. I do appreciate their attempt at an adaptation, but when M80 are always one step ahead of you, it is so difficult. The first half goes by 4-2 for M80 on what is typically thought of as one of, if not the most defender-sided maps in the game.
I mean, yeah, you look at Consulate alongside Skyscraper, right?
Yep.
Every once in a while you see Labs going that way as well, but you just don't expect attacking teams to have that much success. And for M80, they are set up incredibly well for what's to come on this second half if they can follow through on that promise and make that stat line as true as can be. I mean, we'll see what SSG Academy have to offer us here. Of course, they'll have to attack the site that they had a rather easy time defending, so they should have a good understanding of exactly how they want to approach this. The big difference here is that they will have to deal with a little more of this top floor presence from M80 than maybe SSG were applying themselves, but Jabates, look at the drop down. Spoits didn't stand a chance. The Vigil, my goodness, 10-4, but no more presence, at least in round 7.
Yeah, punished on that Vigil. Really nice play coming out from Jabates. Opens things up with a pistol and the intel. It's continuing to be strong. They know where Hyper is at. They go for a bit of a pre-fire. They deal a bit of damage. I think they might have hit Hyper in the shoulder. Not quite a headshot, I suppose, but they'll deal a bit of damage to enforce him back. This is a very heavy roam strat from M80, if you couldn't tell. We've got, I think there was 3 players starting here on the top floor. Everybody will fall off after Spoit dies, and Hyper gets a little too close for comfort. So the bullets being thrown out by SSGA. And in fact, they will not even want to stick around with the main floor. All the way down to the basement now as they rotate into the 4v5. My question is, can SSG Academy do what M80 couldn't? You've got full top floor control. You got about a minute on the clock. You've got soft breachers. You've got hard breachers. This was something M80 really struggled to convert. Can SSG Academy do it instead?
Well, we'll see. M80, as we just saw a moment ago, the whole squad of those top floor defenders rotating back down to the basement. That C4. Kino trying to maybe get a kill, but maybe deny the utility on the hatch. I don't think he was able to do either. No kill found. Zoto canister on the main garage wall, quickly expiring there too. So the exothermic goes off. And already this is so much more promising from SSG than we saw from the M80 attacks on this same bomb site. Not only do they have that opening kill, but they have the hard destruction finally going their way here. That garage wall open, the hatch open, so much pressure coming from all sides, and even the Zoto canisters cannot stand in their way. Good shot there from Xer. He's traded by Citizen. Still an advantage though from SSG. They can keep this trade game going, but not if you're pushing this angle all by yourself. Vil, alone, nothing happening there, but Cameraman, the only one who can deny this plant, and Focal, well, he's gonna stick this, and Jabates on the coverage is not gonna allow that to happen. SSG Academy, now that is how you start an attacking half.
Yeah, brilliant push. Love that from SSG Academy. Everything went their way. They got the opening pick on the roam game. They then traded really well. Yeah, they maybe got caught on some of those rotates down. The spiral stairs guy got punished very early, but immediately it was traded. And they very quickly traded down to the point where the fuse kit was going down. And they were left in a 3v1 with only Cameraman, who tossed out a C4 that, we'll say, slightly missed. Wasn't able to deny the plant at all. So beautiful push. You saw the collapse coming in. Standard push, I would say, as well. Mostly full top control coming in through the garage breach. I thought they dealt with a two-brow really well too. While those auto canisters did come out, they were all dealt with very quickly, whether that was through the Twitch drones, whether that was just shooting them through the floorboards. SSG Academy always had good answers. So really liked that attack from Space Station Academy. They immediately feel so much more comfortable on this side of the map. Will that continue on other sites? I sure hope so, because that was a joy to watch.
I mean, yeah, that defense down there really just felt like it didn't stand a chance to SSG Academy there. I mean, really, there were certainly moments where they slowed down the attack, but it was just clean. clean, Jesse. And a stark contrast to what we saw from M80, which I think is the most impressive part of that, is that SSG Academy's attack, the T2 team here, just proved that they know how to attack that site a lot better than apparently M80 did. Because yes, M80 won one of those attacks on the basement, but it was due to a pretty crazy clutch. Both times, until that clutch, it was not looking good. Eventually, of course, SSG Academy did not let them go for the crazy clutch the second time, did pull out the win there. But much better on the attacking side for SSG. Tough start, though, in round 8 as Hyper off screen with a C4 in his hand gets the kill to open things up onto Vil. You lose your Lion here. Oh, and now you lose the Twitch. Back-to-back Nitro Cell kills. What are we seeing right now from M80? This is crazy.
Those windows on Consulate, they feel safe. That's deceptive sometimes, though. I mean, Nitro Cells love flying out, so that's a good start from M80 to try to extend this lead back up to 2 rounds. They've still got 2 more Nitros, too, so be cautious because they absolutely could keep racking them up. Now, with the IQ, they will catch the first one that's free place, and they will make sure that they avoid it from Citizen, leaving just Kino now with 1 last Nitro Cell. Remember, it was a game early on this stage where we had a Nitro Cell 3K to end a round. I believe that was against Los. Regardless of if we see another one of those, M80 definitely in a stronger position. The Deimos coming out to try to give themselves some kind of an advantage, but with these new jammers, it can sometimes be tough to get a good Deimos track off. Citizen immediately rotates to a jammer, and that tracker will fall off. These last 2 players clearing out the top floor. There's lots of bodies to find. Oh.
Wow, that's just a tough blow for Focal. I mean, he walks in, he gets down, Jabates, he gets finished off too. Citizen, he cleans them both up just for good measure. Rampy, what's he gonna do here? He denies the Flawless by picking up a kill on Kino. Can he do anything else? He's already got 9 kills to his name. He's had a heck of a performance here. You know, the guy with all the experience is doing everything he can to get SSG Academy over the finish line, but a lot easier said than done when you run into a shotgun top yellow. So M80 not going to allow SSG Academy to take more than 1 in a row, and they'll go 1 for 1 here so far to start the defense.
I just really enjoyed that top floor hold coming out from M80. Obviously, 2 Nitro Cells are always nice. You're never going to say no to that. And then they never left top floor. I don't know if they were out of drones on the side of SSG Academy, or if they just wanted to speed up their push, or maybe they just assumed that all the roamers had fallen off, but they had no intel as they were clearing up above. They walk into Capcan traps. They don't seem to know that the players are still up towards CEO, and so the swing comes out from Citizen, which gets an extra kill. Yeah, it's a little bit rough of a top clear. Obviously, they were put into a bad situation right off rip, but I think with some better droning, maybe slowing things down a little bit, they could have had a better chance at recovering that. Might have just not have expected M80 to play so aggressive, continuing to play so many bodies up on that top floor, and chose just to base check it instead. But there they go, 5-3 now for M80 as they regain that 2-round lead. As long as they stay off of that basement bomb site, it seems like they are nearly untouchable this game.
Only a 2-round margin here, so I wouldn't say anyone is, untouchable just yet. But certainly reaching a point where, well, SSG Academy need to try to find some success on the attack. I revisited the numbers here, Jesse, put myself in your shoes for a moment and kind of looked at, where this map falls in terms of attacker-defensive split. We'll get back to it in a second, as Spoit is looking to get active here. Impact, but a Claymore just outside means that he is going to step away. In NA, this map has actually gone largely 50-50. EU, it's a bit more defensive-sided, about 57% to 42%. But here in NA, in almost every single map, is pretty heavily defender-sided these days. This is one of those maps that it feels like attacking teams have been able, at least statistically, to make their way back into it. Maybe SSG Academy can hope that that's the case for them here. We're going to need to see something special as they continue here, because even if this is 50-50, I mean, you walk into the half down 2, you need to make something pretty impressive happen if you want to defy the stat line and try to come out of this one with a win. See the smokes here, early use from M80. Kino trying to delay this initial push in that admin side, spending valuable utility, but using it to take some time off the clock. No better use for that.
Yeah, very different push from SSG Academy. They're not going straight into windows. They're saying we're going to try to take admin control, go through the vending hall. It doesn't go great. They do trade out, and I think a Grim for a smoke is pretty good value. You mentioned how Kino had already used some of those toxic babes to stall out some time, so it's not ideal, but you at least do shut down the last toxic babe that I believe was still in the pocket of Kino. Citizen in a bit of an awkward spot, but he finds his way out of it. Great shotgun play, takes down Focal on the rappel, giving that man advantage back to M80. And of course, you've got Spoit ready for a flank up those Visa stairs at a moment's notice. He's not also been caught on the Deimos scanner. Look at that. Deimos has all 3 operators except for Spoit on the Vigil, so they will not know if Spoit goes for any type of a flank. It's going up yellow, so probably no flanks to see, but even still, this intel advantage could be big for M80. We start to reposition this push. Diffuse Kit currently in the hands of Vil on the balcony. If they give up on this admin push, if they don't actually want to clear out through through reception and through the vending hall, this could be a pivot that catches M80 off guard. I actually really like this.
But did they do it quick enough? Because once they pivot, they need to move in rapidly. Otherwise, M80 are going to make that adjustment. And right on cue, there it is. Hyper, he was all over it. He's got 2. Cameraman's got 1. And M80, well, they read that adjustment like a book.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you shoot the window open, Hyper was near enough. I think sometimes teams would get a little too tunnel visioned. I've seen this before where we see a really good pivot, and it works out for the attacking team. I don't think it was the wrong call, but Hyper was close enough and Hyper played that perfectly. So, yeah, bad situation. They try something, doesn't go their way. It happens for SSG Academy. We will see another match point tactical timeout, our 3rd in 3 maps. Love to see these coming out maybe a little bit earlier. We've yet to see one of these last-minute tactical timeouts actually work. Both times the team that called it ended up losing in the next couple of rounds. So definitely a bit of a desperation call. They only need 3 rounds in a row. That's better than what we've seen a few times today. That's not impossible, especially if they can cook up some good defenses here, or some good attacks, I should say. But it really is going to be one that SSG Academy got to start figuring out. They'll likely be back to the basement on this next round. And from there, you're likely to go probably in the same site rotation. Conflict's a 4-site map. You know, you can play Archives Tellers. M80 historically haven't, but they could bring it out. In any case, you can probably predict what the operator, what the bomb site lineup's going to be. Now's the time to cook up some strats, figure out what they want to do, and start to get some momentum back in this game.
I mean, that's key, really. I mean, trying to just get yourself that confidence that you can win this. It was flowing heavily on Bank, that confidence, right? We saw the reactions from Xer every single round. I mean, the reaction, the just enjoyment that was very clear that this SSG Academy roster was having. Yeah, it's a high-stakes matchup. You're trying to play for a major. You're a T2 team playing against the #1 seed coming into this bracket. It's hard to do, but it looked a lot better on them when they were playing that confidently, when they were playing that cleanly. Hard to do it when you see you're back against the wall, when elimination is staring you in the face. But to get the next 3 rounds in a row, send it to overtime, and have any chance of coming out of this series on top, that is what it's going to require. It'll start here, as SSG Academy will be looking to approach this one nice and slow, doing away with any kind of shenanigans. No Ying, no Blitz. Can't bring the Monty. He's taken off the board. The only operator you could look at and say, oh, maybe they could go a little quicker, is the Finka. You've got Vil in play here, but something you're unlikely to see for now. Looks like they're primarily concerned with dealing with any sort of defensive presence that lurks upstairs.
And it's the roaming duo of Citizen and Spoit that we know so well from M80. They'll be dealing with the drones up top here, doing their best to try to limit that resource. They've shot 4 so far, 6 remain, and Spoit does not. There's the Finka coming into play from Vil, holding the cutoff. Might have been through the bathroom window there, could have been the spiral window as well, but I think it was the bathroom window. Finds that kill on a Spoit, actually the exact same window that they killed Spoit last time he was roaming up on the top floor here. So another good entry will take down the primary roamer for M80. Citizen without his buddy will still remain up above. He is in reception at the moment, so he's going to be hunted down next. Can they find the pick on a Citizen? He links up with Hyper, and it seems they'll make their escape.
Smart retreat. They've lost Spoit again, who continues to have some tough times on the early round, on the defensive side at least. His impact, though, has been clear. I mean, he's 12-5 right now. He's clear the #1 contributor on this M80 side, but he won't have a chance here to contribute on, well, their first match point opportunity. You'll have to rely on Citizen to pick up that slack. Clearly, the Valk cams are doing the job. You can have Spoit, you can have Kino circling around and getting that information. Citizen, does he have anything to work off of here? Waiting for something. He knows the skeleton key's popping off, and he's got this C4 in hand. This could be big, potentially 2 kills, but he will not let it rip. Finally letting it fly, but he won't connect. 50 seconds here, and SSG, they still hold this advantage.
Yeah, no intel on that. There's no Valk cams actually up top here. The IQ, if there were, might have already destroyed them. Hyper C4 is pre-placed somewhere as well, so only Cameraman's is actually in pocket to deny a plant, unless Hyper happens to have guessed correctly where the plant goes down. 5 players and 30 seconds to put the defuse kit on the ground. They've at least got a 2-man advantage now with Exer finding Kino.
Make it 3. Good shot there from Vil onto Citizen. Hyper and Cameraman, they're full HP, but they have to deny 5 attackers bearing down from above. Good C4, but it will not find its mark. Focal up on the table, getting that defuse done. Hyper now the only man left as Jabates slides in to finish off Cameraman for good. This one, unfortunately for Hyper, is, well, one of the toughest retakes you're ever going to experience. You have to work your way upstairs into 4 attackers sitting and waiting for you. He's not even going to get past 1. It's Rampy, his first and final obstacle that he faces. And SSG Academy keep themselves alive for now, 6-4 here on map 3.
The last 3 times that M80 have played Consulate, they've played it 3 times this season. They played it against SSG, the main team, in stage 1, and they won 7-5. They then played it against SSG again, the main team, in the stage 1 playoffs, and they won it 7-3. And then they played it against SSG Academy in the EWC Open Quals, meaning that M80 against the SSG organization are 3-0 on Consulate. SSG Academy 2 rounds away from forcing overtime. If they can't get both of those, then that'll be a 4-0 record for M80 on this map against the SSG org. Not exactly the stat line you want if you're a Space Station fan, but this is a map that M80, despite not a ton of plays recently, do tend to love. They very rarely lose Consulate. It's a map that they have been very consistent on for about a year now. And they will have 2 more opportunities to close this out before we get to overtime. And all bomb sites, again, going to be unlocked throughout that process. Not wanting to go to the basement, it'll be Piano for round number 11. This is the site that they won last time with some really good top floor roams and 2 big C4 entries. With 4 Nitro cells being brought by Spoit, Kino, Hyper, and Citizen, they're going to be looking to repeat that.
Yeah, you're looking for the same game plan here, throwing those Nitro cells out liberally, not just trying to deny the plant, but trying to simply deny the entry, trying to deny these players from just getting on the rappel and doing anything in the round. Like you said, Jesse, they didn't just find 1 opening Nitro cell kill. It was 2 of them on this same site last time. They'll see if they can replicate that here. SSG Academy, naturally, they're going to be much more wary of that kind of thing. You can see Exer maybe a little more cautious as he positions himself outside the breach, giving it a wide berth in case any Nitro cells come flying out the other side. You're also going to see some information being obtained here by Vil, by Rampy, as they know that they need to be cautious before making this eventual move. They see maybe an opening here, though. And to assist this clear, Rampy is just going to dive his way on in. The EDD will light him up pretty heavily. He flashes 1, and while he does that, Jabates and Vil, look at the success that they're having. Rampy, a 1v1 that Hyper wins. The Nitro cell finds nothing, though, and it's SSG Academy rolling through this defense right now. Cameraman's being torn to pieces. He's been taken care of by Exer. And SSG Academy are now 1 round away from forcing OT.
Droning a Capcan trap and then still running into it is such an insane level of commitment to the push that SSG Academy needed in that round to close it out so cleanly. They pushed through the top floor, they exploded into the top floor with both a Finka, a Blitz, a Ying, all the utility they could possibly want, and M80 just could not survive. It's not dissimilar to the pushes that we were seeing over the last couple of maps. Back over on Lair, of course, this is a similar strategy to what SSG Academy tried to use to clear out our 6 room more similarities coming through now to Consulate. We see SSG Academy continuing in with these aggressive operators that will force the attack timeout from M80. They've got to decide what site they want to go to. They've got to decide what strat they want to run. The world is their oyster. All 4 bomb sites are unlocked. They've played all of them. They've won 2 of them so far through this game on defense. So they're going to have to find out a strategy at this point. SSG Academy seem to have found a scenario that works. They're going to bring this Finca. They're going to bring these explosive operators, and they're going to go for really strong executes. M80, they've got a few seconds now to figure out how to counter that, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, this is where things get really dangerous, and I think this is the best time you could possibly take that tack timeout if you're M80. This is your final chance to close things out in regulation. And even though you are the favorites, even though you held the lead here going into this second half, you do not want to chance overtime. Anything can happen in those few rounds. And as we're seeing now from SSG Academy, we were asking them to find that confidence again to take gunfights and win them. And look at what they've done with that. That's 2 rounds in a row. Only 1 round away from sending this the distance. I mean, here we are, the final round of regulation, and M80, off the backs of that timeout, will head up to meeting and CO in an effort to close this one out here. We saw the C4s, we've seen the Nitro Cell focus from them. That's not going to be completely absent here. You still see 3 of those C4s in pocket, but we do see a bit of a shift. There's no cap can and a little more emphasis on some of that plant denial in the form of the smoke, the area denial of those Malusi Banshees, and of course the hard breach denial that Sport brings to the board on the Bandit.
Interesting to bring up Bandit here on the top floor of Consulate. Obviously can be very effective for that balcony wall, but beyond that, not gonna get a ton of value. Certainly could use it over on like the vending hall to break room wall. Seen that before. Throw it on a couple different walls in sight, but notably, Spoit was hiding for the majority of that round, so didn't want to get droned out. There are some good answers to the Bandit on the board. Most notably, of course, the Brava, which can hack those batteries and turn them off. It can be kind of hard to work a Brava in, so you can got a lot of these EMPs and frag grenades as well, which can work either through the wall or horizontally instead. And Jabates opens up this final regulation round with a big kill onto Hyper down on the bottom floor. He was able to work his way up yellow, I believe, and find that initial pick. Yeah, Hyper, not an aggressive position from him, but just didn't expect Jabates to be so quickly into yellow. And now the top frag of SSG will secure that early lead and could make things difficult for M80. It looks like, by the way, Jonah, we're going for another admin side push.
Yeah, pushing from this side has already netted them 1 kill, so they're going to keep it up. They've got that kill onto Hyper, and now with this man advantage, SSG Academy, dude, they have a chance to do something dastardly. Sending this to overtime where anything is possible. In an LCQ, M80 letting it go this deep, that is not a good sign for their future in this bracket. It's single elimination. You do not have another chance here, and SSG Academy, sure, they're still on the back foot, but they are just 1 round away from getting it to OT. The chance to eliminate the top seed, still very much a possibility. Still a lot of work to do here for this attack. 1:10 remaining. They only have the 1 kill, but you see Vil down below here trying to take some space, seeing if he can surprise any of these M80 defenders caught unaware.
Not a lot of utility in this vending hall, of course, from M80 as well. They didn't want to hard hold it. They will have players up in reception. That'll be Kino, but he's being tracked by Bees too. They've got the Habana to go down below, and they start to work their way over towards the meeting window. The plant will come in straight through the vending hallway as they start to come into the Bees.
Jabates, big swing now. He's got some information, but a C4 shuts him down. M80 stopped the initial onslaught, and Citizen does it again with the shotgun. Big kill at a big moment. Focal responds, still a 3v3, 25 seconds for SSG Academy to get a move on here, and now this attack, well, a little disjointed here. They got to group up and make a push. Citizen still a threat. He has not given up this position. 3 kills on the round for him. He won't find the 4th, but Focal now a man alone with a mission to keep SSG Academy alive, and that will not be fulfilled. M80 may have taken them longer than they had hoped, but they close it out in 3.
When M80 were denied the third place spot by SSG's main team, Citizen was the only person who seemed to be able to have a good game in that series, and he will be the one to step up again against the Space Station org, take down their academy, and knock them out of the bracket. They will advance to the semifinals, where they will play on Sunday to try to make it to the Montreal Major in the last spot from North America. Congratulations to M80. They move on from today. But chat, we're not done. One more BO3, one more quarterfinal remains. We'll get to that after a short break.
I have ice camera. Yeah, long goal. Nice.
One more door.
Nice. Case is down, guys.
One more,
Live.
1 HP, pushing you, Willie, 1 HP. Blue door.
I'm gonna close you.
Relays Nitro.
Nice! Yes!
Holy shit. Good shit, boys.
This guy hit a god shot, bro. This guy hit a fucking god shot on me.
Good stuff, guys.
Corbeck, are you there? Well, I mean, I just want to say to begin with, I mean, I'm glad M80 got the win, as we said that they should have gotten the win, but how they did that, Fox, I mean, I wouldn't be too happy. I mean, you're hurting Kino's voice. Granted, some people scream Kino kind of sound very just mute of just kind of like, oh, thank God we won.
Oh, did Lax go too?
Hello?
Oh, I think you're back.
Oh, did you
Right.
hear anything?
I heard something, but we're all going down. We're all going. But
I was saying, if you're M80, like, great, you got the win, but ultimately you should not feel comfortable that this is how you got the win.
yeah, no, I mean, M80 definitely. It was such a shaky win for them that they must have hit our Wi-Fi, our internet out for a little bit. So everyone's having an issue coming back. I don't think anybody expected that game to go as long as it did. I mean, honestly, if you're an M80 fan, you got to be sitting there watching and saying, what's going on? Is SSG Academy really that good? That much better? Or is M80 just underperforming? And I think there's a level of sloppiness, slowness. M80 wasn't really expecting SSG Academy to be as formidable of an opponent. And obviously, SSG's Academy, their game plan was all about the utility and denying M80, and it was a really, really great attempt. Their attacks were also very good, coordinated rushes. M80, again, just kind of got bailed out by big individual plays, big individual performers.
Yeah, and, I want to touch up on, talking about how well SSG Academy played. I mean, they did do a really good job pivoting, but unfortunately, they couldn't get it done. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about individual performance. I mean, Citizen had some really good plays, but a player that really sticks out is Spoit. Spoit dropped double digits every single match, and I believe he may have dropped 40. I'm not entirely sure in that best-of-3 series, but I mean, Spoit, his consistency is honestly what kept this team alive and what really pushed them and drove the success for this roster. And again, to be beating SSG Academy, going all 3 maps, making that last map very close outside of, not getting to the OT, M80's not looking as great as I want them to, and especially if this is how you start out your LCQ, where it's only going to get harder from here, and that technically should have been your easier game. I don't know, as an M80 fan and just being an analyst up here on the desk, what I can expect from them going into the rest of this LCQ.
Yeah, that's I think a really good question. Maybe something we can pose here in our interview. We have cameraman on the go. Let's get him in and talk to him a little bit about what happened here. Hey there, cameraman. I mean, congratulations on your win, but I know that, and Laxing wanted to ask this. I also wanted to ask this. I think actually probably all of us did. Are you guys proud of your performance here against Space Station Gaming Academy tonight?
Not really. I think we've been having some consistency problems with the stage. Like, this is not our best stage by far. We still are trying to find like the best way to play. Like, also like one thing that it's harder to play against these teams is that they have a lot of intel on what we do, and we don't have anything about them because they don't show on the opens qualifiers, and it's a game kind of unfair for both sides because they know what we do and we don't know what they do. So we gotta stay sharp on during the game with the comms and reactions and everything. but yeah, like you guys are right. Like we're not in the best shape, but we have time. We have 1 day off, right? So
Yeah.
it's not even like the 1 day off. It's just like that we have time and we will bounce back. You know, we showed like really good screams, but that's the problem because like sometimes we have bad screams and sometimes we have good screams, and we just need to try to figure out like what is pulling us back. You know, and just keep doing the good stuff because when we're doing the good stuff, I know that we are a very good team.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of things that are pulling you guys back, right? Bank continues to be a real sore spot for you guys as a map. How did you guys kind of let that into this match here tonight? And what are you going to do about Bank in the future if it pops up in the map pool again?
I think the Bank is the problem is that we are starting slow like almost every game, you know, and we lose some rounds that we shouldn't, and this cost us like I think we've been doing this for the whole stage actually. Like some games it's like kind of sloppy and we ended up winning, and we start slow and then we bounce back, you know. I think like this is something that we are trying to work on, and we need to work on this like immediately because it's costing us some rounds, some maps, even some matches. So I think this is the biggest problem in the like start code.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you guys are aware of it. I mean, I figured you would be. So for semifinals, right, you're going to be hitting either Luminosity or Oxygen. Is there any preference in the M80 camp about which team you guys would like to play?
Not really. Like to win stuff, you don't need to choose. You don't get to choose your opponent. So whoever's the best, we will face them and we'll beat them.
All right. I mean, that's a good attitude to have. I wish you guys the best of luck here and the rest of the LCQ. Hopefully you'll get your chance at the Montreal Major. But for now, I guess celebrate your victory for today, and good luck prepping on your day off.
Yeah. Thank you.
A bit of a muted cameraman, to be quite honest. I think they were well aware that tonight was not the best showing in M80 history. And yeah, I mean, you know, get Spoit a backpack sponsorship because he was really carrying them, but it is what it is. They still got the W, and that's what counts.
I mean, at the end of the day, oh, you want? Yeah, you take it.
You go first. You go first. It's
All
okay.
right. I'll take it. No, I mean, at the end of the day, you got the win. That is important. That does allow you to push yourself a little further, sit nice, have that day off, and you know, be able to watch the next game or you know, understand your opponent a little better. But still, I mean, they know their issues. We know their issues. We've talked about the issues. It's their lack of consistency. They just cannot seem to find their stride. Whereas some games they look really good, and then other games they just fall flat. And it's a hard thing when you're in that situation. I know from being a pro player that those typically be the harder things to try to tackle and try to understand because it's an in-game problem. It's a individual problem of just being able to identify, okay, maybe I should be doing this, maybe I shouldn't be doing that, and truly trying to pinpoint what the major issue is that can be fixed and reflected upon. But at the end of the day, they did get it done. It's just important that they do take from this, once again, taking from it and just applying it into their next match so they can improve and they can look better going into that semifinal.
Of course. And I mean, looking at the bracket, that's M80 starting us off for the LCQ. They're obviously just done with their first game, but that being their first game, that should have been the easiest game. Obviously, going into 2-1, it makes it very stressful of a road for M80 to have to go down to then potentially face off an LG or OXG. And obviously, we don't even want to get into the the other side of the bracket until tomorrow. But it's very stressful position for M80 to be in. Obviously, it was not the showing that you want, but I mean, it was a humble interview from cameraman. Said they got to fix it. They got to fix it now. And obviously, they don't have much time left, so hopefully they can fix it in their little day off tomorrow. But until then, I mean, can't be sitting too pretty, can't be sleeping too comfortably.
Yeah, and I think cameraman knows that. I think they all know that. At least that's what I got from him. So hopefully we'll see a bit of a rejuvenated M80 in that semifinal, but we still have to determine who will be playing against them. One more best of 3 here today. It's Oxygen versus Luminosity right after this.
Okay, so let me think. Oh, Dream Team. NAL. Okay, I have some players in mind. I'm gonna make a full aggressive team. I don't really care about the roles, so it's gonna just make a shooter team. Ambi, Spoit, Ashen, and só troca tiro mesmo. Não lembro o nome dele. Bota aí. Diffuser, yeah, it's him. So, okay, I'm gonna...
Diffuser is really
Oh, I need one more player. It doesn't matter the team. NJR. So my dream team is Ambi, Spoit, Ashen, Diffuser, and NJR. Coach can double up. Preciso de coach. Call out? Call out. Okay, so my coach is call out.
It's total calamity, total mayhem inside of the server. Out of nowhere, they find their round back into their favor.
Holding up for the blood, the wave! And I think he might just find it!
Got you tulips in a twist. Hand up boss like communist. No, I can never ever get back all the things I missed. But I'm that man that think you got the gist. Got you tulips